the urban regeneration project. It comes as the city continues to face multiple challenges, including cleaning up, ailing water infrastructure and unpaid Eskom debt. Morero says the city will continue to ensure that services are being delivered.
Evidence tells us the following, that 93.3% of our residents in Johannesburg receive clean water. This is an improvement from the 2011. 96% of Joburg residents receive sanitation services. 94.6% of residents receive sanitation services. This is also an improvement from 2011.
Migrants seeking police protection in KwaZulu-Natal say going home is not an option, citing human rights violation they fled in their home countries. About 150 people slept outside the Diakonia Centre for Refugees in Durban last night, alleging threats from members of the March and March movement. The movement has been staging demonstrations in parts of the country, protesting against illegal immigration. The migrants have vowed to continue camping at the refugee centre until their demands are heard. Nhlanhla Mabaso reports.
Although a consensus was reached between the protesters and the police that they should return to their places and will be guaranteed safety, some of them are refusing, saying they want government to give them shelter where they can be kept together. Since Monday, the group left their places of work due to safety concerns. Eric Jean Bukito says they are refugees and need protection.
Many of them, they may look smaller than they are, but they ran away from their country because of the persecution of their government. That's why they're here. So many of them, they want intervention from the government of South Africa and the United Nations.
He says they are not happy with how police reacted to their cries yesterday. The group says they will only leave the centre once their request is met. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Durban.
Global tensions in the Middle East are now hitting South Africans where it hurts the most, at the petrol pump and in their monthly budgets. Statistics South Africa says consumer inflation jumped to 4% in April, its highest level since August 2024, driven largely by a sharp spike in fuel prices. The figures come as energy markets remain on edge following Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz, a key global oil shipping route, after military strikes by the United States as well as Israel. Mongezi Koko reports.
For many South Africans, the biggest hit was felt at the fuel pump, with petrol and diesel recording some of the sharpest price increases seen in years. Stats SA says the price of inland 93-octane petrol jumped by more than 3 rand a litre in April, while diesel surged by over 7 rand a litre. That has also pushed up transport costs, including airfares, which recorded their biggest monthly increase since 2008. But there was some relief for shoppers, with food inflation easing for a third straight month. The price of some basic items, including maize meal, rice, porridge, remained lower than a year ago, while meat price increases also slowed down. Stats SA's Patrick Kelly.
This is the highest inflation print since August 2024. The monthly increase in the CPI was 1.1%.
The latest figures now place inflation right at the midpoint of the Reserve Bank's target range, with consumers continuing to feel the pressure of global events filtering through to everyday costs back at home. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News.
The Western Cape High Court has ruled for the defence's case related to alleged underworld gang boss Nafiz Modak to be closed. Judge Robert Henney's ruling follows numerous delays in the matter, mostly due to Modak's failure to secure new witnesses. A court hearing was held on Monday for Modak's lawyer and the prosecution to present submissions on whether or not Modak's case should be closed. Carlo Peterson has more.
Presiding Judge Robert Henney says based on facts presented to the court, Nafiz Modak is unable to proceed with his case. On Monday, the prosecution argued Modak's failure to produce new witnesses has unduly delayed the trial. Modak's lawyer, Advocate Bash Sibda, told the court his client recently gave him a list of new witnesses who could not take the case any further. Henney ruled there are enough facts to justify closing Modak's case. The trial will now proceed with the case of co-accused Ziad Pool, who faces 122 charges and is alleged by the state to be Modak's co-manager. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News, Western Cape High Court.
And the World Health Organization insists the risk of the Democratic Republic of Congo's deadly Ebola outbreak remains low on a global scale, but it says its risk is currently high at the national and regional levels. So far, 51 cases have been confirmed in the DRC, in the eastern provinces of Ituri and North Kivu. Uganda has also reported 2 confirmed cases in the capital Kampala and 1 death. On Sunday, the WHO declared the situation a public health emergency of international concern. Experts say while investigations into the outbreak's origins are ongoing, the outbreak probably began a couple of months ago. Gold is trading at $4,502.18 an ounce. The rand is at 16.59 to the dollar, 22.23 to the pound, 19.24 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $109.12 a barrel.
In the Devland Eldorado Park area, slow-moving traffic on the Golden Highway between the N1 and the N12. Also, slow-moving traffic still in the Glen Vista Bosonia area. That's on Kliprefir Drive approaching Belair's due to faulty traffic lights. Also, traffic lights not working. Still in Bramley at Corlett and the M1 North.
And in your sport, Arsenal supporters gathered at the Emirates Stadium into the early hours of Wednesday morning after the club won a first Premier League title in 22 years. While North London rival Spurs relegation fight will go down to the last day of the season. And South Africa's Lloyd Harris won't be at Roland Garros this year as he lost his qualifier.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 17 and 18 degrees. The top story in EWN. Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero insists the city is a performing metro which has delivered tangible results over the years.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
On Sunday, 26 July, 7:02 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk unites us all in the iconic Joburg CBD.
7:02
Walk the Talk. Abize bonke. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
A very good afternoon, everyone. It's 9 minutes past 3 on Wednesday, the 20th of May. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you are listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. Executive Mayor Dada Morero is busy delivering his State of the City address with a few dark clouds hanging over his words. Eskom has threatened to cut off electricity to Joburg over unpaid revenue. More on that after 5. Why was Sundowns forced to delay their trip to Morocco yesterday for a full day? They're travelling to Rabat for the second leg of their CAF Champions League tie against AS FAR. Robert Marawa has been doing some digging. He joins us with what he's found at 10 to 5. And in Pinetown, KZN marchers have taken to the streets once again to protest against illegal immigrants.
We ask them one question. We are ready to tell the people to go back in the operating site, but tell us if one person is killed there, what will happen? Because what is happening to them is not being reported. So the police, they do not want to take responsibility on that. So as for at least 10 people, they are not safe to go back, so they decided they better remain here.
And Nhlanhla Mabaso reporting on that story, which has also included immigrants in the area going to the police, as you heard there, and asking for protection. We'll talk about music in the last half hour of the show, as we always do. What song for you screams out, this was the 80s? Maybe something like this. Aha. That was Aha. So you can send us the song that you think defines the 1980s. Really looking forward to that. By the way, the 80s, as I recall, probably in the 90s, always a big subject of discussion. Some people talk about decades and say that was the best decade for music, and then other people will say that was the worst decade for music, and often they're talking about the same decade. So you could say it's just a matter of taste. If I recall, the 70s got a bit of a pasting, sandwiched between the 80s and the 60s, seen as golden decades. We'll talk about that some other time, but in fact, we can talk about it now. If you have a view on which were the best decades, share that with me now. But in the meanwhile, give us your best 80s songs, please. Both of those to 072 702 1702. On the markets, most indicators moving in the right direction, not at any huge speed, but good news nonetheless. The all shares up by 770 points, a gain of around 0.7%, driven strongly by the resources index, which itself is up by 1.9. Harmony has gained 6.1%, Anglo Gold up by 3.1%, away from metals. Grindrod is up by 3.5%, Datatech has gained 3.3%. Rand is trading at 16.60 against the dollar, better by 4 cents. A euro will cost you 19.25. That's stronger by 9 cents, and 22.24 will get you a pound, an 8-cent gain for the rand against sterling. Oil price is down for a change by $1.82, with a barrel of Brent crude currently trading at $108.79. Gold price is up by $8.04 an ounce. Platinum, an even bigger gain, up by $14.23. Stephen Curtis joins us with all the market news at 4:25. He will also, I'm sure, both in his two bulletins in the show, but also on the Money Show tonight, talk about the implications of an increased inflation number. We're up nearer 4% now, which will cause some concern. Sport with Anthony Teixeira. You heard him a moment ago. He's back at 20-4. Karabo Chali, sitting opposite me, has the very latest traffic news. And Mbali Dlamini is back at 3:30 with the very latest news headlines. This is 702 Drive. We're live in the place where you live. We are also, by the way, live on screen. If you like, you can follow us on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, type in John Perlman Live 702 Drive. That'll take you straight away to a picture of our lovely studios and our extremely charming and handsome selves. Well, they weren't in today, but you've got the usual gang. But if anything's happening in 702 land, we do our best to bring it to you first. But if you know of something we don't know about, or you've heard of something with some details that we might have missed, please do get in touch. We really, really do appreciate your contributions, both to the ideas we're banging around, but also the stories we're trying to cover. So, numbers to use once again, 072 702 1702 or 011 883 0702. It's 3:15.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
Well, some people say, if you have to wait a long time for something, never mind all the frustration, never mind all the suffering, it's always worth the wait if you eventually get it. I'm not entirely sure about that, but I might have been persuaded by what happened last night.
22 years we've been waiting for this. Look at the streets of London. No club can do it like this. No club!
I'm embarrassed to say that I actually celebrated Arsenal's clinching of the Premier League title with a cup of tea. Although I did have some honey in it, but that was it. That was the max for me. No stimulation required. But seriously, though, I mean, for some people it's a sporting thing, a long wait. I suspect if Pirates clinch the PSL title, we're going to see that kind of celebration with a sense of absence, absolutely sharpening the pleasure of your desire and your dreams actually being fulfilled. But here's a question. I would ask you, what for you have you waited a long time for? And when it eventually arrived, you were, as delighted as those people we heard a moment ago. Jonathan Fairbairn, a very good afternoon to you. What have you waited a long time for? Maybe you're still waiting. Well, who sang I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For? U2, eh?
U2 sang that one, Bono sang that song. Yeah, I mean, I think what I always wanted when I was younger was a motorbike.
Yes.
And my friend had a motorbike, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. But I mean, I didn't realize the cost of these things. And my parents told me a very bad lie once. They said that they'd ordered a motorbike for me.
Okay.
And it was coming across the seas on a boat, on a ship. And the ship sunk to the bottom of the ocean.
With your bike?
With my motorbike on it. So for many years, I'd always thought of this bike at the bottom of the ocean, which never arrived. And then many, many years later, I met a neighbor of mine who lived upstairs from me. And he had a motorbike, a scrambler motorbike. I think it was a KTM 250 or something like that. And he then said to me, come, let's go riding. And I was like, oh, I don't have a bike. And then I managed to get a bike that I could borrow. And we went and rode in the mine dumps and all that kind of thing. And it was so cool. It was like a dream came true for me.
Yes.
But I've never gone and pulled the trigger and bought myself a motorbike. I'm very scared that if I do, it might sink to the bottom of the ocean.
Oh, wow, you scared.
You know, there was an expression in one particular phase of feminism when they said, women need men like a fish needs a bike. So maybe there's a fish who's got your bike, son. Okay, so what about you, Karabo Charlie? What have you waited for and maybe you're still waiting?
I'm still waiting for Pirates to win. Definitely, you mentioned that because my son has never seen us celebrate their league victory or Champions League victory.
How old is he?
So 9 years old.
No,
so
I must wait.
It's been too long. You waited 20 years? I couldn't believe it. Arsenal has been
22 years. You must wait.
Can't believe it.
Seriously. Okay, so you're waiting for the Buccaneers.
Yeah,
very good chance.
It's going to be a big celebration, trust me. Yeah. And the one that I remember celebrating, and I was relieved that it finally happened, it was the last day of school, high school, matric. We had a big party. I just couldn't believe I'm never going to wear a school uniform ever again.
Wow. So you wish those days away?
I wish them away. I just couldn't stand waking up every day, every morning, wearing the same blazer, the same jersey, the same school shoes. And I was like, guys,
how's adulthood treating you? Huh? How's adulthood treating you?
It's much better, actually.
So remember I said go to YouTube because Mr. Charlie actually has a uniform that he wears regularly. There's no blazer and tie involved. In winter, he's got his Volkeppie T-shirts. No, in all seriousness, though, I mean, please tell us about something that you've waited a long time for. And it doesn't have to be an event. It doesn't have to be something out of your control, which the fortunes of a sporting team absolutely always are. So anything at all that comes to mind that you want to share from the very broad question, what's something that you've waited a long time for? And how did it feel when you got it? 19 minutes past 3.
John Perlman
on 702.
3 to 6 p.m.
Well, you don't have to wait for a traffic update because we're going to give you one now.
Thanks, John. Well, at this stage in Pasonia, traffic pressure on Klip Refugee Drive. That's between the N12 and Balays due to faulty traffic lights in Devland. Eldorado Park area, slow-moving traffic. That's on the Golden Highway between the N1 and the N12. While if you're traveling towards Bedfordview, coming from the Edenville, Boksburg, Kempton Park area, expect some delays on the R24. Westbound between Edenville Road and the Gilulis interchange, also heading towards Germiston. There's slow-moving traffic. That's on the N3 southbound between Linksfield Road and Van Buren. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
That's Kefense before she got naked. Kefense's premium went up twice last year, and she was more confused than when her ex said, I need to find myself, and then found somebody else. So Kefense got naked. She got comprehensive car insurance and a way lower premium in seconds on the Naked app. Good for you, Kefense. Get a car and home insurance quote now at naked.insure and see how much you can save when you get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
The Rebirth of Ubuntu concert returns for its 5th edition, live at Joburg Theatre, 29 and 30 May at 7:30 p.m, celebrating 50 years of youth legacy. Featuring Lira, Zoe Mudiga, Vusinova, Tutu Puani, and Jimmy Zuzu, backed by a 20-piece orchestra conducted by Grammy Award winner Joe Arthur. Curated and produced by the visionary Billy Munama. Tickets available at Web Tickets. Proudly supported by Brand South Africa, City of Johannesburg, Arts Alive, 702 and ENCA.
Brush, stroke, paint, color, protect, and admire. From roof paint to exterior textures and interior silk, Warrior Paints has it all. The product range and stylish colors are amazing. And what's more, Warrior Paints has crushed prices for incredible savings. Enjoy that good old-fashioned personal service you deserve. For price, quality, variety, and service, Warrior Paints is street ahead. Warrior Paints, affordable, lasting, luxury.
702 is in conversation with Capitec, discussing how South Africans can protect themselves against financial crime.
What scammers understand and what most of us don't fully appreciate is that our brains are wired to make fast decisions when we feel excited or under pressure. So the fear of missing out on a great deal is a powerful emotion, and scammers deliberately engineer that feeling. The ticking clock, the other interested buyer, the seller is about to leave town. So they use attractive prices. That's in itself a tool. It creates excitement and urgency, and it makes people willing to move fast without thinking or asking questions. And the surge in the digital era is also about scale. So a single scammer can run dozens of fake listings. In the physical world, a fraudulent car dealer or a landlord has limited reach. Online, the same fraud can be deployed at industrial scale with almost no cost.
Slam the scam with Capitec. Capitec is an authorized financial services provider and registered credit provider.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
23 minutes past 3. Right, let's go to the centre of Johannesburg. One of the themes, by the way, that Executive Mayor Dada Morero has been canvassing is what they're doing to deal with violation of bylaws in the city, collecting money owed for electricity and water, and very much focusing on the city that he says is trying to clean things up. Well, one of those has been some operations that have been taken this week. And there's a building called Marble Towers in the Joburg CBD. Electricity and water, according to the mayor, is going to be cut off because 14 million rand is owed for municipal services. That matter now, though, has gone to the courts. And Jabulile Mbata, our EWN reporter, has been following the story closely. She's with us now. Jabulile, I believe court proceedings underway. What exactly is going on? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, John. Yes, court proceedings have finally started. It was a very long wait. Initially, we were supposed to start at 1, then at 2, but only a few minutes ago did we start. And really, the argument is because the owner of Marble Towers doesn't want structures that have been built there to be demolished. But the city has said that it can't be that way because these structures are there illegally. One of the things that we got out of the legal counsel of the city is that the biggest thing is that the building poses as a fire hazard.
Right.
And this is because, those structures are actually even blocking fire hydrants. There's no escape room. So that's the issue, that if there should be a fire, many people could die because there are quite a lot of people in that building. As you know, it's a 23-story building, and there's, multiple other buildings close by. So that's really what the city is arguing, that they can't afford to have something similar as what happened in the Usindiso building, where 76 people died after a fire. So that's actually what they're arguing right now.
Okay, well, let's keep you updated on that. Thank you. Jabulile Mbata setting the scene for that court hearing. It's been a couple of days in process, getting underway in earnest now. Jabulile with regular updates on our news headlines every half an hour. We've got some coming your way in about 4 minutes' time, and then on the hour of full bulletin. So anything that comes out of the court of consequence, Jabulile will feed it into our news system. 26 minutes past 3.
John is on X.
At John Perlman.
Well, let's focus on another metro area in our country, this time Durban and Pinetown. On the one hand, a march against illegal immigrants. On the other, foreign nationals camping outside various places. They were outside a Durban police station earlier in the week. They've also been gathering outside the Diaconia Centre in Durban, which over many decades has been a centre of human rights activity. So what's the latest there? The march on the one hand, the foreign nationals saying they need police protection because they've been threatened. Nhlanhla Mabaso, keeping an eye on both and trying to balance things up for us, joins us now. Nhlanhla, very good afternoon to you. Let's maybe start with where you are now. Just fill us in on where you are, what you're seeing, and what's unfolded during the day. Good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon, John. Maybe let me first take you back to Durban Central, Diaconia Centre, a centre for refugees that was a hype of activities because of yesterday's proceedings when police dispersed the group of marching foreign nationals who then camped the whole night at the refugee centre and are still there even as we speak. But currently now here in the Pinetown CBD, a march by March and March has just concluded. It was a quick one really, John, because in the morning we were told it was just a quick in and out, but it seemed after lunch, the members of March and March and LACO, which is a Labour-affiliated union of the MK party, then emerged into one thing where they were basically marching against the issue of selling of drugs, illegal foreigners as well here in Pinetown. They targeted what is known to be a hotspot area in Crompton. Mm-hmm. I live in this area, John. I, for one, know this town to have been one very clean town, but today it's smelling all over. There's broken windows, buildings left abandoned. But what was intriguing, John, is senior police officers confirming to some of the march organizers that indeed in this particular building, police have held various raids, a lot of arrests made, drugs found in each and every that they made. Then it brings question as to why is the city quiet about this? And then brings question as to why government is not taking this issue seriously. But what made the protesters or the marchers rather angry, John, is the fact that when they got to the particular building, a number of public order police officers were deployed and prevented them from entering. They've submitted their memorandum of demands to the police authorities. But that shutdown of the 30th of June, John, they say when it comes, they do not want to find such things anywhere.
Thank you very much. With that update, Nhlanhla Mabaso moving between Pinetown and Durban, covering a story that, of course, has had equivalent things happening in the city of Johannesburg, where there have been protests as well. 29 minutes past 3.
It's that time of the year. Sore throats, congestion, wet and dry coughs, pain and fever. For trusted relief for you and your family, ask your pharmacist to recommend a winter survival pack from the Adcock Ingram OTC range. With products like Medikil A, Expigen, Corenza Parac, Adconapamol, Dilinct Junior and more, we have you covered this winter. Remember, Adcock Ingram OTC, sponsors of Break.
Do you ever call you like to sell, but don't trust your uncle or your pal? Then we buy cars just for you. Buying cars is what we do. We offer service with a smile. We always go the extra mile. Use a place that you trust and sell your car to us.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
It's another girl.
Families multiply, fees shouldn't. With Ultimate Banking, you get support for every chapter. Get discounted banking for your spouse and give each of your children a head start with a Mega U account. Because as your family grows, your banking should keep up. Apply online. Your story matters. ABSA. Terms and conditions apply. ABSA is an authorized financial services provider.
Right, let's bring you the very latest eyewitness news with Mbali Dlamini. Good afternoon to you.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Joburg Mayor Dada Morero says his administration has laid and continues to strengthen the foundation for a more prosperous city. Morero has been delivering his final State of the City address ahead of this year's local government elections. The address is underway at St. Mary's Cathedral in the city centre, attended by members of the Joburg Council and representatives from various spheres of government. The event comes amid mounting frustration from residents over governance failures and deteriorating service delivery across the metro, but Morero insists his administration has turned a corner in improving service delivery.
Evidence tells us the following, that 93.3% of our residents in Johannesburg receive clean water. This is an improvement from the 2011. 94.6% of residents receive sanitation services. This is also an improvement from 2011.
Defence Minister Angie Motshekga says the increasing popularity of the Cape Sea route as a shipping gateway is making it increasingly necessary for South Africa to beef up its maritime security. The issue was raised while Motshekga delivered her budget address in Parliament today. Motshekga says a solid navy is more imperative than ever, not only to guard the country's vast shoreline, but also to protect key trading routes. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
As the budget for the Defence Force continues to decline, Minister Angie Motshekga says government has taken two key strategic decisions that reflect the pressure being placed on the Defence Force. The first of those is withdrawing from regional peace missions, and the second, the deployment of the army to respond to crime in the country. But the lack of the capacity within the Navy is increasingly coming to the fore as maritime traffic increases. Motshekga says the importance of the Navy cannot be underscored more than by the impact global politics is having on trading routes.
We are also a maritime and trading nation. We are thus affected by and must respond to global economic and security dynamics prevalent across the world, whilst also focusing on our own homeland security.
However, Motshekga pointed out that Navy dockyard challenges have reached a critical point, with essential equipment and port infrastructure urgently needing to be repaired or replaced. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And in the UK, Prime Minister Keir Starmer has paused plans to hike a fuel duty levy. The reduced tax rate for petrol and diesel was introduced by the previous Conservative government after Russia's full-scale invasion of the Ukraine pushed prices up in 2022. It was meant to last 12 months but was repeatedly extended. Starmer says he decided to extend the freeze because of events in the Middle East. He also announced plans to cut the fuel duty rate on red diesel by over a third until the end of the year.
And I can announce today that we're giving our hauliers a 12-month road tax holiday, helping to keep prices down. And we're backing drivers by extending the freeze in fuel duty for the rest of the year. This is possible because of the decisions taken by the Chancellor, making us the fastest growing economy in the G7.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 17 and 18 degrees.
Edenville expects some delays heading towards Bedfordview. That's the N3 southbound between Edenville Road and Van Buren. There's also some traffic pressure in Basonia on Kliprivier Drive. That's between the N12 and Balaise due to faulty traffic lights. Devland, Eldorado Park area, slow-moving traffic on the Golden Highway between the N1 and the N12.
The top story in EWN. Joburg Mayor Dada Morero says his administration has laid and continues to strengthen the foundation for a more prosperous city.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
The Midday Report at its heart is a current affairs show, but it really is a show about everything you need to know about and everything you didn't know you needed to know about. Our listener is sharp, plugged in, curious, has developed opinions, but is still open to learning new things. My favorite part is how witty, sharp, and funny our listener is. What we cover every day is breaking news, current affairs, politics, the courts, global developments, science, education, popular culture, sports, books, and of course, good things too. I like to think of it as a lunchbox with a little bit of everything. What I love about 702 Land is that it is full of energy. There's always something happening, a developing story to follow. But it's not parochial. The 702 family cares about what is happening in the world around them and how we plug into that.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Weekdays from 12 to 1 p.m.
Evolution doesn't wait. Introducing the Chang'an Uni S. Unexpected, unmistakable, uncompromising. Engineered to a higher standard, unlike anything in its class. Unsurprising, really, from China's oldest automaker. Trusted by 30 million drivers worldwide. And at $4,999 per month, it's an unbeatable offer too. Chang'an Finance, T's and C's apply. Visit chang'anmotors.co.za for more. The Chang'an Uni S.
Chang'an, driven to evolve.
Let's hear from Susan, owner of Leopard Song Manor, why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance.
We were with our previous insurer for 13 years. Switching made me aware of things that we weren't covered for. It was a quick process. I saved a lot of money.
For boutique hotels, catering companies, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Famous for available staff, famous for knowledgeable staff, famous for always helping you with a smile. Now with 10 Chamberlain stores across Gauteng, our expert staff are here to help you with all your hardware needs. Paint, power tools, gardening, pet care and plumbing. Big on stock, strong on service, built on values. Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, Tate John and the team. When I was growing up and there was fashionable clothes coming in, every season there'll be fashionable things coming in. I would ask my mom for that particular thing. She will go with me to the shop and lay by it. I was not even aware that the next day she will go and cancel that lay by. So most of the time, when there's a trend coming in, I'll talk to her, she will lay by and cancel, and I'm still waiting even today because I never knew she was canceling them. But I would forget about it because we are still waiting. So yeah, I'm still waiting for some fashionable styles that were there in the 80s. Level Kruger.
Hello, John and the team there in the studio. Karabo Charlie and Kabazela. What I've been waiting for, or what I have been waiting for, it was to get into my house, put a car keys on top of the table. Back then, it was when I was dreaming, I was like, if I can see myself getting inside my house, putting car keys and a newspaper. So now when I'm getting home just from work, just putting the car keys there and the phone, I think back to those days. I'm like, yeah, this is what I've been waiting for, and it feels good.
Yeah,
and Vusi in Pretoria. Nice show, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Vusi. Sorry to jump in there, but yeah, those are powerful stories, hey, because to get from the thing you waiting for and dreaming about and to get to the point where you actually make it reality, you must have worked hard, you must have saved hard. So it's a wonderful story. I found this story about the laybys and then the cancelling very sad, because on the one hand, you got this kid who's really looking forward to getting those new clothes, but also, a parent who doesn't want to disappoint you, but the means are just not there. So often we come up with quite a simple subject on the face of it, and then, there are always stories about these quite profound life journeys, some of them successful, others disappointing. Thank you for sharing those, and please keep them coming on 072 702 1702. Dennis picks up on Kabazela's story about the motorbike he never got, and he said, when I was young, my parents promised to buy me a bicycle if I passed to the next grade. I would pass easily, and when I would inquire about when am I getting the bicycle, they would change the goalposts and give me other stories. 702 Drive, we like hearing from you. The number again, 072 702 1702. Sport coming up with Anthony Teixeira in a moment. I just want to, before that though, say we're going to continue our look at those cricket tickets, because there are many people who are looking forward to going to the test match between South Africa and England at Newlands, the New Year test in the shadow of the mountains around Cape Town. Table Mountain, of course, most prominent, is really really one of the highlights. It's on a lot of people's cricket bucket lists, and South African cricket fans are getting squeezed out. While we wait for Cricket SA to come on the show, as they said they would, eventually, Firdous Munda, one of our top cricket journalists, has come up with some really interesting data about who actually is getting the tickets. She's with us at 4:10. 10 minutes now to 4.
EWN Sport.
Anthony Teixeira, a very good afternoon to you. Yeah, football in the news and a big football match tonight as well.
Yeah, good afternoon, John. Yesterday, scenes were amazing at the Emirates as thousands of Arsenal faithful gathered as the club brought an end to their 22-year wait for a Premier League title.
Arsenal, Arsenal, Arsenal.
Well, this was after Bournemouth and Man City drew 1-1, bringing an end to the Citizens' title challenge. The Arsenal team were together at the training ground before taking their celebration to the Emirates with their supporters. Meanwhile, their North London rivals Spurs relegation fight will go to the last day of the season as they fell 2-1 at Chelsea. That's seeing them host Everton for potential safety, while their relegation rivals West Ham will meet Leeds. Tottenham boss Roberto De Zerbi.
Sunday is the final for Tottenham, not Bilbao against Man United. Most important game is Sunday because next season they played for the trophy. Now we played for something more important than trophy because the pride, the history of the club.
In tennis, South Africa's Lloyd Harris won't be at Roland Garros. He gave up a set lead to lose 6-3, love 6-3-6 to Andre Pellegrino in today's qualifier. While switching to cricket, Bangladesh clean sweep the test series against Pakistan after winning the second test by 78 runs on the fifth day. Islam wrapping up the Pakistan tale after taking a 6 for 120 in that second innings. With that, Bangladesh have moved up to fifth on the ICC World Test Championship log, with Pakistan remaining in a lowly 8th position. And Netflix's first foray into the MMA world was a massive success as it became the most watched event in the sports history. Ronda Rousey's 15-second submission win over Gina Carano peaked at 17 million viewers globally, breaking the previous record of 9 million set back in 2011 for UFC on Fox. This past Saturday's card was stacked, as there was also Francis Ngannou and Nate Diaz on it. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
At 16 minutes now to 4 o'clock, EWN Traffic is brought to you by Sizekaya. The National Lottery is changing lanes and moving over to Sizekaya, your new official National Lottery operator, from the 1st of June. Let's get the latest from the roads then. Stratham Park, some delays. I believe Karabo Chale has the details.
Yeah, that's in the Randburg area. John, Stratham Park, traffic congested on Malibongwe Drive. This is if you are leaving the Randburg area heading towards the highway between Hans Kuman and the N1. Driving through the Joburg CBD, traveling towards Boysons, bumper-to-bumper traffic. I guess that's just our peak hour traffic at this time. On the M1 southbound from Killarney Benz to the Crown Interchange, while in Basonia, traffic pressure once again this afternoon. And this is on Klip Rafir Drive between the N12 and Belaise due to faulty traffic lights. In Devland, Eldorado Park area, slow-moving traffic on the Golden Highway between the N1 and the N12. In Ekurhuleni, Edenville, that's coming from Alex heading towards Germiston. Expect some delays. N3 South from Moederfontein Road all the way to Van Buren. Still in Edenville, this time coming from the Kempton Park area. Expect some delays on the R24 westbound between Edenville Road and the Gilulis interchange. For the latest traffic updates, you can also follow us on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Something big is coming. You see, if you're tired of life never giving you a real chance, just know that your chance is coming. We've decided that if life isn't gonna give us bigger and better, then we're gonna give it to ourselves. We're also tired of the ones running this whole thing. Soon there'll be a takeover, a change, a chance. Like we said, something big is coming, and your chance to change your life is finally coming home with Sizekaya. Mzansi, a new chapter begins 1st of June 2026.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, 14 minutes to 4. We've been asking you about things you've waited a long time for. Was it the sweeter when it arrived? And what was that thing that you waited such a long time to finally see? Anthony Teixeira, out of your life, anything that jumps out in that regard?
There's one thing in particular that I've waited to see virtually my entire life, which is Aston Villa win a trophy, to be honest with you. I've been a fan of theirs for 20 years now, and during that time, we've only really ever come close to winning one thing, and that's when we won the playoff final to get it back into the Premier League. The last major trophy they won was back in 1996. I didn't even know what Aston Villa was at that point. So I've basically spent my entire adulthood waiting and hoping with bated breath that we would win a trophy, and today we have the Europa League final against Freiburg.
So will you watch, or are you one of those superstitious people who think that if you do, you might jinx things?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I think I am going to watch. Regardless.
Watch.
I am the person, though, when we score, I don't celebrate. I just sort of
smart.
I don't.
Smart.
No.
Smart move.
That semi-final against Nottingham Forest, when we had scored 3 goals in the second leg, and we were leading, and there was no chance that Forest were going to come back, and I didn't celebrate.
All 3 goals?
Nothing. It wasn't until the 4th one went in, then I was like, maybe.
You have to watch, Anthony.
Yeah, maybe.
No? We'll check up on it.
We'll definitely check up on
it. Where do you live? We'll come by. With cable ties. 702 Drive, things you've waited a long time for. As I said, it doesn't have to be anything to do with sporting events, although feel free to talk about those. Those, of course, are out of your control. They're completely out of your control unless you have powers that I don't. And if you do, please let me know what they are so I can deploy them judiciously from time to time. But we've had people talking about houses and all sorts of other things that they dreamed about and then eventually secured and made their own. So your story, please, on 072 702 1702. 12 minutes now to 4 o'clock.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Well, let's pick up on a story now that really was dominating the news earlier in the week. I'm sure you're familiar with it, but let's just remind you of this. The prosecutor in the case against Mpumalanga taxi boss and businessman Joe Sibanyone and 3 others didn't turn up in court on Monday. This led to the magistrate, Tuleto Tonjeni, saying he was in contempt of court, also struck the case off the roll. Since then, people have been wondering what has happened in the engagement between the NPA, which suspended prosecutor Ntaba, and obviously there were going to be meetings to hear his side of the story. Well, let's catch up with as much of this as we possibly can. Kaiser Khanyago, NPA spokesperson, very good afternoon to you and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon and good afternoon to your listeners.
So, first of all, has the NPA had an opportunity to engage with Mr. Ntaba? And if so, what has come out of that engagement?
Yeah, no, we have engaged with him. I think he had got an engagement with the DPP in Mpumalanga, and we've gotten the report. We also gave him his letter of suspension, and now we have to then start with the investigations around what really happened.
What has he shared with you that you can share with us about why he didn't turn up in court on Monday?
No, he has said a lot of things, but as I say, we need to verify them before we make it fact, because it was not directly said to us by him. It was said by the director of prosecution in Mpumalanga. Therefore, it was important for us to do the investigation first and then verify all the facts that are there and understand who did what and who did not do what, because it's not only him. There's a chain of other people who were supposed to do certain things.
Would it be fair to say, though, that his case, and as you rightly point out, this has not been settled or adjudicated on, but the case he put forward was not that he was simply derelict in his duty, but he felt there were external circumstances that made it difficult for him to be at court. Would that be a fair point, general as it is?
Generalization, yes, but not necessarily everything. But we also are looking beyond him, also looking at the court itself and the magistrates as rulings so that we see what can be, if there's something that went wrong that we needed to deal with. And that way we will be able to understand whether we need to do the appeal or not.
One of the stories that is running today, I think it's from the Sowetan. It is indeed from the Sowetan. I'll just credit the journalists correctly. Two of them, Herman Malloy and Butu Musulankwe, they're running a story saying that there was intimidation of Mr. Ntaba. Without you judging Mr. Kganyago whether in fact that is true, is this something that is being investigated?
Yes, we are investigating everything that needs to be investigated, including that. But that is not the only story that came about. There are many other stories that came about. But all we need to do is to work on the basis of verified information, and we also have to look into how the process will unfold in terms of bringing the matter back to court.
I was struck, Mr. Kganyago, when you said what he has shared so far. I'm referring here, of course, to Prosecutor Ntaba, was with the Director of Public Prosecutions in Mpumalanga. I hope I've got that title right. What was the status of that meeting? I mean, for example, was it recorded? Would Mr. Ntaba have had legal representation? I ask that because I'm wondering if a situation might arise where there may be some dispute about what he said in that meeting.
No, that was him talking to his boss.
Yes.
Therefore, that is a relationship. That's why we wanted the report from his boss, not directly with him. He can only deal with that when the engagement with our integrity people happens, and whether he wants to be represented or not, but that will be recorded.
But given that it's an HR matter and he was suspended, are you saying to us there were just two of them in the room?
No. That was not the start of the inquiry.
Okay.
It was just him talking, reporting back to his boss. Therefore, then we have now started the process, which will be done by our integrity unit, who will then give him an opportunity officially to present his side of the report.
So that would be a meeting with representation if he requests it, record keeping and so on.
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Kganyago, let's move to something else then. If we may, two issues. The first of them, the conduct of the magistrates. We spoke to your colleague Advocate Mtunzi Maga, on the Monday when all of this happened. And he seemed to me to indicate that there would be some investigation of, but possibly representation by the NPA in regard to the way in which Magistrate Tonjeni went about things. First of all, is that going to happen? And secondly, what's the process involved if it is?
Yes, it's going to happen. And what we will then have to do is to then get the court records. And then based on the court records, then our legal team will look into that and check whether there is a need for us to appeal this matter or not, and what are the grounds. And that is in process also.
So when you say appeal the matter, does that refer to the re-enrolling of the case, or would it be a direct challenge to the magistrate and the way Magistrate Tonjeni actually not only made a decision in regard to the prosecutor, but opted for the remedy of striking it off the roll? Because my understanding is that's not something that is obligatory by law. It would have been an option.
Yeah, but the fact is we'll have to look at everything and decide which option we'll take, and that we have not reached that point as yet, because we've got to go through all not only for the day, but all the other days, all the records, so that we are able to make an informed decision that is legally sound.
So would it be fair to conclude then, Mr. Kganyago, that the process of re-enrolling the case, in other words, getting Mr. Sibanyone and the others back into court, that's not yet underway? You're still at, if I could call it, the planning stage and review?
No, the instruction to have that done has already been re-enrolled, has already been made.
Okay.
And it's just a matter of following the processes of the court to do that.
Okay, so I'm conflating two things that are separate. So just to be absolutely clear, the re-enrolling is in process and is not dependent on any conclusions you might draw either in regard to the prosecutor's conduct or the conduct of the magistrate. Those are, in fact, two separate matters.
Definitely, they are two separate matters. If you have heard in the judgment of the magistrate, they said it can only be re-enrolled once the DPP has written a certificate for that to happen. And that process will happen.
Okay. And any timelines on these? I mean, first of all, clarity on what happened, if indeed clarity is possible, on what prompted Prosecutor Ntaba to act the way he did. That, is a more open-ended process. But the others, timelines on how long it would take, for example, to re-enroll?
Yeah, no, it depends on the court processes. All I can say is it will be sooner rather than later.
It was an incident that, prompted, I think it's fair to say there was a need for the NPA to respond. I don't think damage control is the right phrase, but certainly you were very eager to ensure that the public saw that you were acting decisively. Has anything you've heard from the prosecutor, although not directly necessarily, given you some pause to suggest that, the suspension maybe not necessarily hasty, but maybe not entirely justified?
Yeah, the suspension is a precautionary one so that we are able to then give the opportunity. Therefore, there is no issue of hastiness. We're just suspending so that you can concentrate on this thing and without having to be worried about the work that you need to do, and then we deal with this matter. It's a precautionary suspension.
And in this entire process, any engagement with the counsel of the four men who were in the dock, or they're not involved in this at this stage?
No, they are not involved here.
Thank you very much. Kaiser Khanyago, spokesperson for the National Prosecuting Authority. Lots of things in play here. We're going to keep as close an eye on them as we can. If you want to pick up that story, by the way, that I referred to from the Sowetan, go to sowetan.co.za. Quite a full account there. 702 Drive.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
Morero is currently the mayor. He's going to deliver the State of the City address.
I'm not really sure exactly what is it that he's going to really be presenting when it's actually in contempt of his regional responsibility.
Eskom has issued a notice of intention to reduce, interrupt and or terminate the supply of electricity. How worried are you about that?
More than worried. For me, the mess we are seeing right now is not a surprise to me because Dada Morero decided to put people around himself that he can really control.
The Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
We could tell you we're the best bank in Africa, but if you're a CEO or CFO looking to scale, you'll want the numbers. Like that 350 of Africa's corporates bank with us, that 80% of its billion-dollar corporates trust us with their business, and that our systems process 300 million rand a minute. That's 430 billion rand every day. Grow with the bank that does big numbers. Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
In business, missed deliveries cost more than money. Go Logistics is South Africa's 100% black female-owned Level 1 Triple BEE powerhouse, delivering secure, time-sensitive transport for parcels, cold chain cargo, and compliance waste. With DG trained drivers, cold chain certification, national reach, and real-time tracking, every load is handled professionally, safely, and on time. Go Logistics, power beyond cargo. Visit gogirl-logistics.com.
It's time to get revved up. The Motor Select Rev Up sale is on, and we've got thousands of quality pre-owned vehicles at unbeatable prices. That's everything from city cars to 4x4s. Offer ends 30 June, so get to motorselect.co.za now.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
702 Drive coming up after 5 o'clock. Sundowns was supposed to jet off to Morocco for the second leg of the CAF Champions League, playing in the city of Rabat in that North African country. They were on a charter flight, and then they were told, no, there were problems with the authorities in Morocco. Just a snag or something, perhaps, other than that going on? Let me keep it neutral. Robert Marawa, host of Marawa Sports Worldwide. If anyone knows, Robert knows. He joins us on that story at 10 to 5. Right now it's 4 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Dada Morero insists the city is in talks with Eskom over debt, and the UK pauses plans to hike a fuel duty levy. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero says the city will not challenge Eskom but will instead work with the electricity minister to resolve its ballooning debt to the power utility. Morero was responding to Eskom's demand that the city either settle its 5.2 billion rand arrears or face electricity supply interruptions, reductions or possible shutdowns at several bulk supply points. Despite ongoing engagements aimed at ensuring payments are made, Eskom says the city has repeatedly failed to honour its agreements. Delivering his State of the City address in the Joburg CBD this afternoon, Morero says the city is treating Eskom's letter of intention with urgency. He adds that the challenge extends beyond Johannesburg and is affecting municipalities across the country.
Yes, City Power does have a turnaround plan which addresses this challenge. And part of the solution is to implement National Treasury and Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs guidance to reform and strengthen municipal trading entities. This reform agenda will assist the city to improve governance, financial sustainability, operational efficiency and accountability.
The city of Joburg says it offered Marble Tower owners money to demolish illegal structures on the property as it tries to resolve the matter quickly and avoid another fire tragedy. The legal battle has resumed this afternoon in court after the owner of the building filed an urgent interdict against the demolitions earlier this week. The city says its legal battle with the Marble Towers building owners is about preventing another deadly fire like the one that engulfed the Usindiso building in 2023. The deadly blaze claimed the lives of 76 people. Jabuli Limbata reports.
The city's legal counsel is confident of winning the case, saying the structures have no approved plans, are built along pavements, and are obstructing fire hydrants, posing a fire hazard. Head counsel Sekhala Malahlela says the city tried the out-of-court route first.
And we're saying we don't want to be in a fighting situation. Let's just find a way, because if we correct that and they make business, we make money, they make money.
He says the city offered to pay the owner to remove the structures within 5 days.
They offer to help them remove their structures. We are even saying they must remove them within 5 days. We're not us. We are not going to go there with the bulldozers and do that. We say remove them.
Malahlela adds the case is not about foreign nationals, but about by-law enforcement. Jabuli Lembata, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
Migrants seeking police protection in KZN say going home is not an option, citing human rights violations they fled in their home countries. About 150 people slept outside the Diakonia Centre for Refugees in Durban last night, alleging threats from members of the March and March movement. The movement has been staging demonstrations in parts of the country, protesting against illegal immigration. The migrants have vowed to continue camping at the refugee centre until their demands have been heard. Ntantla Mabaso reports.
Although a consensus was reached between the protesters and the police that they should return to their places and will be guaranteed safety, some of them are refusing, saying they want government to give them shelter where they can be kept together. Since Monday, the group left their places of work due to safety concerns. Eric Jean Bukito says they are refugees and need protection.
Many of them, they may look smaller than they are, but they ran away from their country because of the persecution of their government. That's why they're here. So many of them, they want intervention from the government of South Africa and the United Nations.
He says they are not happy with how police reacted to their cries yesterday. The group says they will only leave the center once their request is met. Ntlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Durban.
The case against a Soweto pastor accused of raping his 12-year-old relative has been postponed to the 1st of July for further investigations. Tsepo Ndimane was arrested after the alleged incident took place at his house in Dobsonville over the Easter weekend. The state has been awaiting forensic evidence, including DNA results, toxicology reports and outstanding video footage. Magistrate Thelma Simpson says the docket has already been submitted to the Director of Public Prosecutions in the province to oversee the process.
But for now they have the docket and will obviously control the process of further investigations.
You've heard also that the evidence and everything that will later be relevant in this case were submitted for forensic analysis, and that we specifically await the DNA results.
And in the UK, Prime Minister Keir Starmer has paused plans to hike a fuel duty levy. The reduced tax rate for petrol and diesel was introduced by the previous Conservative government after Russia's full-scale invasion of the Ukraine pushed prices up in 2022. It was meant to last 12 months but was repeatedly extended. Starmer says he decided to extend the freeze because of events in the Middle East. Gold is trading at $4,502.18 an ounce. The rand is at 16.59 to the dollar, 22.23 to the pound, 19.24 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $109.12 a barrel.
Edenville expect about a 30-minute delay heading into Bedfordview. That's on the N3 southbound between Morafontein Road and Van Riebeck due to an earlier accident. As a result of that accident scene, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic as well. That's coming from the Kempton Park area, R24 westbound from Edenville Road to the Kilulis interchange, and driving through the Joburg CBD, expect about a 20-minute delay. M1 south from Killarney Bends to the Crown interchange.
And in your sport, Arsene Wenger congratulates Arsenal after their Premier League title victory, while their talisman Bukayo Saka has asked for the doubters to stop doubting, while Southampton have appealed against the ruling which has booted them from football's richest match.
A cloudy Thursday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 4 degrees, peaking at 19. Pretoria 7 and 20, and Vereeniging 3 and 18 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Joburg Mayor Dada Morero says the city will not challenge Eskom, but will instead work with the electricity minister to resolve its ballooning debt to the power utility.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Visit primemediaplus.com to enter 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for the people, for our Josie.
For Joburg, by Joburg, in Joburg.
Bamise bonke.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 8 minutes past 4. Good to have you with us. I don't know if you've been listening to the State of the City address delivered by Executive Mayor Dada Morero. We've had fairly extensive coverage of that here on 702. What did you hear, and what did that... to what extent did that chime with the realities of the place where you live? Give us a call on that if you like. We would be very interested to hear from you. You might be able to also offer some assistance to Danira, who asks, how can we stop these big organizations from spam calling us? It is so frustrating to get these calls 5 times a day, every day. How is it that they get away with this? Please help Danira from Lens with that rather desperate appeal for information and advice. If you've got something to share and help with that, please do give us a call or just drop us a note and share whatever you know that might help Danira with her particular plight. Coming up on the show, is this a diplomatic incident yet? Probably not, but the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, DIRCO, has got involved in Sundowns difficulties that led to their flight to Morocco being delayed by 1 day. They were flying on a charter for the city of Rabat, where they are playing the second leg of the CAF Champions League final, but they were delayed by Moroccan authorities. Robert Marawa, who you know very well from the sports show that he does on 947 and all the other stuff he's done over his stellar career, has been looking into this issue, and he'll give us an update on that at 10 minutes to 5 o'clock. Before that, we're going to continue with something we were looking at yesterday. You know, tickets for big sports events are always a bone of contention. I saw someone post on the internet once, the big fans get teams to the big events, the cup finals and so on. And then the corporates take over and come and take all the tickets as the pricing goes up and access becomes tighter. I'm not sure that's always the case, but it certainly appears to be a problem for cricket fans to get tickets for the game against England at Newlands. Cricket info journalist Fidos Munda has been doing some digging as to exactly where all the tickets went. It's intriguing what she's found, and she joins us in a few minutes' time to share that with us right here on 702 Drive. We asked you, by the way, what are the things that you've been waiting for a long, long time, and how did it feel when that actually happened? Palesa, well, for Palesa, this still hasn't happened. I'm waiting for my daughter to get a job. She finished her studies but never secured a job, and it's now 10 years ago. I will be happy, she says, and a proud mother. 11 minutes past 4.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Hi, Ntate John. Also a fellow Greener here, so definitely celebrating for another 22 years. Something that I waited a long time for, and it was definitely worth the wait, was my 4 letters, my CASA. That was definitely worth the wait, worth the struggle, worth the long hours, worth the tears, worth the failing exams, worth all of them. Have a good show.
Good afternoon, Tate John and Tim. When I was about 9, the maxi dress and skirts were fashionable. I got one. However, next season, it was the time of the mini skirts. So when I asked for one, I remember my mom saying, "Do you want me to cut the maxi skirt?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Fashion goes around and comes around." Unfortunately, I didn't even understand what that meant. And I waited and waited. I've been waiting ever since. Thanks, Dima.
Well, at least the scissors never came out, Dima, so that at least you kept the maxi skirt for as long as you could. Keep those calls coming. The simple question we asked you, but the answers are always interesting and much more layered sometimes than we expect. What's that thing you waited a long time for? Give us a call on 011 883 0702. Just some breaking news that we need to share with you. I'm just seeing up on the newsroom screen the ATM had put a motion to the Speaker of Parliament wanting to table a motion of no confidence in the President over the Phala Phala report. That motion has been denied. We'll look for more details and share those with you when we get them. 13 minutes past 4.
EWN Traffic.
Delays out in Edenvale, just one of a number of problem areas. Karabo Chale with a full picture.
Yeah, if you are traveling towards Germiston, that's leaving Alex driving through Edenvale. You can expect about a 30-minute delay. N3 southbound from Modderfontein Road all the way to Van Buren due to an earlier accident. As a result of that scene, there's also bumper-to-bumper traffic coming from Kempton Park into Bedfordview. That's the R24 westbound from Edenvale Road to the Kilulis interchange. Still in Ekurhuleni Boksburg, roadworks are still slowing down traffic. Heading towards Brakpan, N17 eastbound from Rondebult to Carnival City. Driving through the Joburg CBD, you can still expect about a 20-minute delay. M1 southbound, this is from Killarney Bairns to the Crown Interchange. Northcliffe, we have delays once again this afternoon. This is on Bayers Nodia between Judges and the N1, also due to faulty traffic lights, while in Basonia, faulty traffic lights also causing delays approaching the intersection of Kliprefir Drive and Belize. Those delays stretch all the way from the N12. Devland, Eldorado Park area, slow-moving traffic on the Golden Highway between the N1 and the N12. And finally, in the city of Tshwane, driving through Linwood, Waterkloof, heading towards Centurion, there seems to be an accident scene, N1 southbound. This is near Rigel Avenue, causing more than a 20-minute delay all the way from Linwood Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
My show is about getting you informed. By the time you get to the office, your place of business, or wherever you need to go, hopefully you have a fairly good idea what's happening in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, and around the world. We want you to be part of those water cooler conversations, and you will be part of those conversations because you'll be a better informed citizen. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is the ecosystem that we have built, the community. It's all about connection because we may be different, but ultimately the people you talk to and the people you hear are facing issues just like you.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m.
If your gym was becoming too expensive, you'd switch, right? So why pay more for car insurance? Switching to Outsurance saved 43-year-old Gloria an unbelievable 513 Rand on her 2024 Audi Q3. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Do it now. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Licensed insurance FSP, TCs and information online.
Tax deadlines don't have to result in penalties. With the 31 May employer submission deadline approaching, avoid lastminute.com. Submit your accurate employer reconciliation declaration, EMP 501, on time using EasyFile or e-filing. Employers, make your tax matters your priority number one. Submit by 31 May 2026. Go to sars.gov.za. SARS, at your service.
The Wits School of Governance develops leaders and innovators, those who reimagine governance, strengthen institutions, and drive inclusive growth. Apply now for postgraduate diplomas, masters, PhD programs, and executive education. We equip change makers to lead boldly and with purpose. Governance matters. Choose WSG to shape the future. Visit wsg.ac.za before 31st May.
Not every change feels like a choice. Some arrive as disruption. Shift Happens with Richard Sutton is a podcast about those moments where life moves first and you have to catch up. When certainty disappears, direction blurs, and everything familiar starts to shift. You'll hear stories from people who faced change, doubt, and pressure and found a way forward. Their stories give us confidence. Living vicariously through their experience gives us hope, and we learn from their journeys. Because what feels like an ending is often the beginning of something else. Shift Happens weekly on PrimeMediaPlus.com, the Prime Media Plus app, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Powered by First Light, therapeutics for the modern mind.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
18 minutes past 4. Let's pick up on a story we were talking about yesterday. Huge unhappiness amongst South African cricket fans at the fact that there don't seem to be any tickets, or certainly not many, on sale for the New Year's Test match against England at Newlands. It's a hugely popular event for very good reason. It's the third game in the series, but of course it's an absolutely wonderful, picturesque sight to be sitting at Newlands and doing all of that at a time when South Africans are at their most relaxed shortly after New Year's Day. We've been trying to understand better how Cricket South Africa has gone about this, and so far our requests for an interview haven't been granted. But fortunately, cricket journalist Firdaus Mundo, who writes for the website Cricinfo, has done some real digging into where the tickets were actually allocated. And to get her insights, she joins us now on 702 Drive. Firdaus, welcome, and thanks very much for giving us your time today. Newlands capacity 17,544, I think it is. Where did the tickets go? How have they been divided up? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Thanks, John. So, yes, that is the capacity of Newlands. It's reduced after the new developments. And the bulk of the tickets have gone to travel packages, so 39% to international and domestic travel. And of those, it's 27% to domestic travel agencies who will be selling it as part of deals along with hotels and airport transfers and so on and so on. And then quite a big chunk, 21% to hospitality and member tickets. Western Province Cricket Club, of course, has the member stand as well. So a very small percentage left for the general public, just 13%, which, it's not a big number at all.
Yeah, so 13% available to regular people. One could say that, for example, the allocation to Western Province Cricket Club will, invariably bring in some cricket fans. Otherwise, why would they be members of the cricket club in the first place? But let's talk about the travel packages. I mean, you mentioned the split between domestic travel agencies and foreign ones, but the domestic travel agencies presumably would be looking to sell those to people coming from England.
Yes, that's correct, because that is, of course, where they will make the most profit. So they'll be looking to sell a package, like I mentioned, with the hotels, probably some meals included, airport transfers, ground transfers, all of those kinds of things. So you're right in saying that the bulk of those tickets are likely to go overseas.
It's easy for us to assume that English cricket fans will, be well taken care of, but you've travelled a lot in your career as a cricket journalist. Not every England cricket fan has huge amounts of money. They may want to get a nice cheap flight, stay with a mate that they met while backpacking or who they know through business, and eat loaves of bread and whatever they can afford, saving enough money for beer. I mean, this is pricing some England fans out, I would think.
It is. There were definitely complaints reported in the English press that the tour packages are very expensive. We heard something in the region of £300 was one of the figures that was thrown about. I think, John, one of the things we just have to think about is that going to sport is expensive.
Yes.
So that is what it costs. And of course, somebody's making a markup and somebody's making a huge profit. There was some unhappiness in England, but I still think we're going to see thousands of English fans here this summer.
Are we being unfair in the way we are representing Cricket South Africa in this? Because, for example, my understanding is there isn't yet a TV rights deal for the tour unless that's changed. So an England tour is always a money spinner. Is Cricket South Africa in a position to argue, listen, this is a little bit painful for people who are hoping to be at Newlands, but in the end we're safeguarding the financial future of the game?
Yeah, definitely. On the rights deal, there also wasn't a rights deal for the Ashes until the very last moment last year. So that's not unusual, and I think one will come through at some stage. In terms of Cricket South Africa, I think where they are really, really disappointing is a complete lack of communication. So to get the figures took me far longer than I wanted to spend on trying to get those figures. And even then, I had to ask several questions before I was able to get the numbers that I wanted to get and be able to explain it to readers to understand that less than 1,600 tickets per day went on sale on Monday morning, which is why they disappeared in 10 minutes. So had Cricket South Africa come out and said, this is the allocation, these are the tickets that are going to be available, I think people would have been far happier. I think that's where they slip up. In terms of trying to monetize the match, I don't think we can really be too unhappy with them, because I feel as though, we've been there through those dark days when cricket has teetered on the brink, and they need to make money, and this is a way to make money.
Well, one of the other ways they're making money, just to stretch the argument a little bit further, is, of course, through the SA20. And people would say, well, to some degree, we're also your cash cow. We come in huge numbers. We buy merchandise, which the franchises, benefit from. We spend huge amounts in the stadiums and so on. And out of that loyalty to the domestic product, we ought to be a little bit better catered for. I mean, is there a risk that they might alienate fans, or do you think come SA20 time it's going to be as packed as it ever was, because clearly people love the product?
Yeah, I've definitely seen people threaten to do that on social media. So I think that could happen. Look, I think there's so many ways you can argue this. And Cricket South Africa could come back and say, where are all the fans every summer when they test matches in Durban, at St. George's Park, in Joburg? So, this is not just the fans saying you're leaving us out in the cold. It's also, why don't the fans turn up every other time there's cricket? I don't think the SA20 will suffer. I think it's a product on its own that has managed to just get people to want the vibe, even if they don't want the cricket. So I feel as though the SA20 will be okay. And the money made from the SA20, remember, CSA is a shareholder, one of 3 in the SA20. So they do get a percentage of the profits. We're only in season 4. And we'll kind of need to see, how it develops, how much more money is made. But it's not huge amounts. I think the last one was 53 million rand, which sounds like a lot, but, in the bigger scheme of things, it really isn't.
And just finally, I mean, the Centurion is not a ground with a lot of shade. It's not a ground with a lot of formal seating in comparison to some of our others. I, for example, tried to get Boxing Day tickets, but found those were all sold out. Is that pretty much going to go through the same kind of proportions that you've outlined here, that the bulk of stuff is going to go to packages plus stakeholders?
So all the stadiums have different allocations. For example, the Wanderers, which I can speak to in a bit more detail, has got a fewer comps that they give out. They've got a bigger reserve backup, for example, and Centurion would have their own kind of numbers. I do think that a significant proportion is going to go to those packages because an organization like the Barmy Army will buy them up in bulk. So you can go online and buy tickets up to 18 as a block booking, so 1-8. And then anything more than that, if you're buying for a bigger group, then you go through one of these agencies. And I think we'll find that people coming from particularly England will go through an agency like that. So I look, it would be great to see a sold-out Boxing Day test. We often see big crowds, but a proper sellout, I don't think we've seen for some time.
Firdaus Munda, thank you. And you can read this particular story. There's an abundance of detail that we didn't get to in our conversation now. And follow her generally on Cricket Info. She's a terrific writer and really brings all sorts of stories about the players, the game, the commerce, the politics of cricket. Cricketinfo.com. It's a great website. 26 minutes past 4.
702 Afternoons
with Relebohile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
What a bill actually is in relation to laws, especially for those of us that don't live the legal world. At a very basic level, how would you explain what a bill is?
Now, the bill contains actual enforceable legal rules. So it's going to say, what does this thing want to do and how does it want to achieve it? Usually the bill will start with a declaration, this is what we want to achieve, and then it's going to explain how that would typically happen.
Paul Moritz, director at Free SA.
702 Afternoons
with Relebohile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
In the world of finance, manufacturing, and mining, automating business processes is a crucial factor in stimulating an organization's growth and bottom line. Zoe Projects and Consulting, a specialized process engineering and automation firm, offers comprehensive data and business systems analysis to optimize your company's processes, to save time, reduce costs, and better efficiency. Go to zoeprojects.co.za and get in touch with Zoe Projects and Consulting today.
That's Liesel, before she got naked. Liesel checked her insurance premium and got angrier than the time a teenager called her Tani. So Liesel got naked and got comprehensive car insurance and a way lower premium in seconds, all on the Naked app. There we go, Liesel. Get a car and home insurance quote now at naked.insure and see how much you can save when you get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
EWN Business.
Stephen Critters, a very good afternoon to you. 28 minutes past 4. How are the markets?
Yeah, John, all right, thank you. Good afternoon. That's a very red and white. I don't know if I've seen you wear that shirt before.
No, you haven't.
It says Visit Rwanda on the side. That's an ancient artifact on the breast. What is that?
Is
that a cannon?
It's an Arsenal shirt, and generally we're not pleased to see things in the red. But today, I'm happy to be very much in the red.
Well, speak for yourself is all I have to say to that. The JSE All Share up nearly 0.25% at 113,920 points. Financials up 0.83%. Industrials down 0.75%. Resources up nearly 1%. So platinum prices are flat. Gold are slightly down, but this is all, as we know, driven by oil prices, which have slipped back below $110 a barrel at the moment. Quite a bit of corporate news, which has had a little bit of an impact on shares, but not a huge amount because of the bigger dynamics that we've seen. So Greencoat Renewables, they're up nearly 7%. Harmony Gold, they're up nearly 4%. Datatech up 3.25%. Grindrod, another good day for them, up 2 2/3%, and PSG Finance, Standard Bank and First Rand all up quite strongly on the day by around 1.5% or so. Of course, the big story today for us is inflation. So Stats SA saying the biggest fuel price increases this century, pushing inflation up by 1.1% from March to April. That's just month on month, John. And CPI for the year up to 4%, right on the band of tolerance for the Reserve Bank's new inflation target. I'll start penciling in perhaps a 25 basis point hike, I'm afraid, next week. Confirmation this morning, the Public Investment Corporation and the founders of Bowen Property, Steve Brooks and Rodney Gray, they're going to delist the group. They're offering minority shareholders 2 billion rand to take the group private. They would control it. They build homes and complexes, particularly in Gauteng. They're up nearly 4% on the day. Southern Sun, the hotel and gambling group, their profits up nearly 20% on the year, John. So their room occupancy in South Africa up to around 65%. A big increase in conferencing in KZN, which had struggled a little bit in the first half, and I think that's had a big impact on them. The Bytes Technology Group, headquartered in the UK, up very strongly yesterday, but down 4% today. We Buy Cars. They were up 2 days ago, down a little bit yesterday, down today, down 3%. And then the property groups Fortress and Vukile, they're down nearly 3% on the day, while Netcare, they're getting a new CEO in January, down 2.2%, and Naspers down nearly 2% on the day. In the US, shares opened a little higher. There's been a bit of a rebound in chip stocks, so Nvidia due to give us quarterly earnings, I think, tonight, seen really as a sort of test of AI demand. The Dow Jones is flat. The Nasdaq is up 0.44. The S&P 500 is up 0.19. And then the gold price at the moment, $4,477.39 platinum, $1,925.65. Brent crude, $109.02. And the rand to the dollar is 16.52. To the euro, 19.18. To the British pound, 22.16. Stephen, just EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. 29 minutes now to 5 o'clock. It's time that we catch up on all the latest eyewitness news. Bali Dlamini, some news from Parliament, I believe.
That's correct, John. A very good afternoon. Parliament's Impeachment Committee, which is set to determine whether President Cyril Ramaphosa breached his oath of office or not, is starting to take shape. The MK party has announced it will be deploying its parliamentary leader, John Perlman, to lead its representation on the committee. The ANC and EFF are, however, still to make their nominations known. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
16 of the 18 political parties represented in Parliament will serve on the 31-member Impeachment Committee. Its job will be to consider an independent panel report compiled in 2022 that suggested President Cyril Ramaphosa may have a case to answer in connection with the foreign currency stuffed in couches on his Phala farm and the events that unfolded after the money was stolen. As the official opposition, the MK party will be represented by John Perlman, who as a former judge was himself impeached by Parliament 2 years ago. The party's new whip, Mabato Mokwena Zondi, and Kanyesile Litchfield Chabalala. Smaller political parties who have already submitted their representatives include the Freedom Front Plus, which will be represented by Voter Wessels, Bossa leader Musi Maimane and Makashule Ghana from Rise Mzansi. Political parties have until Friday to submit their names to the Speaker. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has declared a special provincial funeral Category 1 for former Northwest Premier Bushi Mape. Mape died in Johannesburg on Saturday following a period of illness. Tributes have continued to pour in for the former Premier, who has been praised for steering the Northwest through one of the most challenging periods of governance. Northwest Premier Lazarus Mokgosi has welcomed the decision by the President to accord Mape the special provincial funeral. Mokhosi's spokesperson,
Premier Mokgosi says Mr. Mape led an exemplary life centered on selflessness and service to the people of South Africa. He maintains that the decision by the President befits the stature, character and the sacrifices made by the late struggle veteran in pursuit of a united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic and prosperous state.
And in Lithuania, the country has lifted a drone alert which caused flights, road and rail travel to be suspended. The capital came to a standstill yesterday and the city ordered residents to take cover. The president and the prime minister had to be taken to emergency shelters. This event comes after Estonia accused NATO of shooting down a drone over its territory, which is suspected was a Ukrainian projectile knocked off course by Russian electronic interference. It was the latest in a series of recent drone incursions over NATO members Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. A cloudy Thursday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Lows of between 3 and 7 degrees and highs of between 18 and 20 degrees.
Leaving Sandton heading towards Midrand, expect about a 20-minute delay. This is on the M1 northbound between Ethel Oakland and the Butlu interchange, while in Edenvale, traveling towards Bedfordview, there's also about a 30-minute delay on the N3 southbound from Modderfontein Road all the way to Van Buren due to an earlier accident. As a result, traffic is also heavily backed up coming from Kempton Park heading into Bedfordview. That's the R24 westbound between Edenvale Road and the Gilulis interchange.
A top story in EWN, Parliament's Impeachment Committee, which is set to determine whether President Cyril Ramaphosa breached his oath of office or not, is starting to take shape.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa. My show is about getting you informed by the time you get to the office, your place of business, or wherever you need to go. Hopefully, you have a fairly good idea what's happening in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, and around the world. We want you to be part of those water cooler conversations, and you will be part of those conversations because you'll be a better informed citizen. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is the ecosystem that we have built, the community. It's all about connection because we may be different, but ultimately the people you talk to and the people you hear are facing issues just like you. 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m.
Out there? Oh, why would you want to go out there? Your job's out there. Traffic to get to your job's out there. The guy at your job who hasn't showered since your last job is out there.
Winter living is designed for staying in, especially with Decofern's red-hot markdowns on our coziest furniture like armchairs and couches. Get loads of stock and speedy delivery now at your local Decofern or decofernsa.co.za.
It's 6 a.m. in Kenya. Victor's little sister starts high school today, but her fees need to be paid first. Back in Jozi, Victor logs onto the Absa banking app and sends her money and a little extra for lunch. It arrives instantly.
Your money makes their world go round. Send cash to 18 countries across the world with Absa Global Pay. It's safe, instant, and affordable. Your story matters. Absa is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. This Joe Ferrari Sibagnoni case is quite concerning. The fact that it was, struck off the roll, and meaning that the suspects are out in public and can do whatever they like, including interfering with the witnesses, interfering with the evidence. So they can, it's their opportunity to actually clean up their act and to cover up whatever they need to cover up. And maybe that's all that they needed, just this small opportunity, to clear up their act. So it's quite concerning, really. And I hope that, it will be, put on the court roll as soon as possible. And thanks, Farai.
Yeah, I mean, the point you make is valid that any suspect, and I'm not commenting, or any accused, and I'm not commenting on these four men, have an opportunity when they're out to put pressure on witnesses and interfere with the course of justice in some way. But 2 points I would make. The one is if they're behind bars, they still have an opportunity to do that because they can communicate with people who act on their behalf on the outside. But much more fundamentally, if they were to have got bail, and the likelihood is, I would think they probably would, that opportunity also exists. So the key problem for me is you've got to be able to protect the people, the complainant, the witnesses, and everybody else who has a material contribution to make when the matter is actually heard in court. And I'm not sure it's simply the striking off of the case from the roll that opens up that opportunity. I think that vulnerability exists in court cases anyway, in the normal running of the course of the law. 21 minutes to 5.
EWN Sport.
Anthony Teixeira, very good afternoon to you once again.
Yeah, good afternoon, John. Well, let's start with former Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger, as he's led the chorus of congratulations towards the Gunners after they won the Premier League title last night.
You did it. Champions go on when others stop. This is your time. Now, go on and enjoy every moment.
Meanwhile, talisman Bukayo Saka shared some thoughts with any doubters in his live stream after 3 successive near misses as they finished second in the English top flight.
Let me tell you something. 22 years there was laughing, there was joking, they're not laughing anymore. Look, it's going to be shining. Look, it's going to be shining bright.
They said to be presented the trophy Sunday at Selhurst Park after the Crystal Palace season ender. While Spurs couldn't secure safety as they were beaten 2-1 by Chelsea. Staying with football, Istanbul is hosting the action this evening with the Europa League final. Aston Villa against Freiburg. Unai Emery, who's won the competition 4 times before, says the last 2 seasons of European football has contributed to where they are now.
3 years ago, semi-final in Conference League. Last year we played quarter-final in Champions League, and this year the final. And those experiences are very important for us. Of course, tomorrow is something tactically, is something individually with our skills, and is as well something emotionally. This is a new challenge we have.
Southampton have appealed against the ruling, which has seen them booted from football's richest match, with arguments being heard today. An independent disciplinary commission handed the Saints a 4-point deduction for next season, as well as their expulsion from the championship playoff final. They've called it manifestly disproportionate to every previous sanction in the history of the English game, pointing to the £200,000 fine which was issued to Leeds in 2019 for spying. Southampton have admitted to multiple breaches of the Football League regulations and were found guilty of unauthorised filming of other clubs' training sessions. The final will now see a reinstated Middlesbrough up against Hull City Saturday afternoon. And in live cricket action, the Calcutta Knight Riders are of course in action in the IPL. They have sent the Mumbai Indians into bat first. After 7 overs, they 50 for the loss of 4. Varma's there alongside Padia. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Okay, let's find out what's happening out on the roads. If you're in the Menlyn area, you may need to listen very carefully to Mr. Charlie.
Yeah, that's if you're traveling towards Centurion, Menlyn. There's a stationary vehicle N1 southbound near Rigel Avenue, and this is causing more than a 20-minute delay all the way from Linwood Road, while in Ekurhuleni, Edenville, in Edenville, expect about a 30-minute delay on the N3 southbound from Modderfontein Road to Van Buren. This is due to an earlier accident. As a result of that accident scene, there's also bumper-to-bumper traffic coming from the Kempton Park area. This is heading towards Bedford View on the R24 westbound between Edenville Road and the Gilulis interchange. Boksburg roadwork still causing heavy delays heading towards Brakpan. That's the N17 eastbound between Rondebolt and Carnival City, while in Four Ways, heavy delays on Winnie Mandela Drive approaching Uranium. If you're driving through the Joburg CBD, there's also about a 20-minute delay heading towards Boysons. On the M1 southbound from Killarney Benz to the Crown Interchange, while in Northcliffe, you can still expect some delays this afternoon on Bayers between Judges and the N1. Basonia, also traffic pressure on Kliprefir Drive between the N12 and Belize. This is due to faulty traffic lights. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Clement Manyatela Show.
on 702.
The Clement Manyatela Show is about everything. It's about current affairs, family matters, the work environment, your health and wellness, relationship and sex issues that couples face. It's about learning, helping each other, healing, teaching. It's about life in essence. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is that we are quite intentional about doing life together. We're always pulling through for each other, learning from each other, always teaching each other. We're not scared to disagree, but also we're brave enough to be vulnerable with each other. We just care about each other, and I think that is priceless.
The Clement Manyatela Show, weekdays from 9 to 12 p.m.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
702 Drive, 16 minutes to 5. Still to come on the show earlier today, Joburg Executive Mayor Dada Morero gave his overview of the state of the city. One of the key issues is the large amounts of money Joburg actually owes to Eskom, and Eskom turning up the pressure and saying, well, maybe we'll cut off supply to city power. A key player in this could well be the Minister of Electricity, Ramokgopa, and he'll be joining us at about 10 minutes past 5 for his take on the situation that we have right now, but crucially what the way forward might be in terms of navigating some sort of solution. Joburg has a lot of difficulties. Eskom cutting off supply to city power would deepen those difficulties quite profoundly, I would imagine. 702 Drive, it's 4:45.
John is on X.
at John Perlman.
So there is an expression, you can choose your friends, you can't always choose your family. And Karabo Chali, you were raising a little issue with us a bit earlier about family and the upside, but also the occasional awkwardness.
Yeah, I was talking about embarrassing moments that some maybe one of your family members or siblings could put you through. And I thought of my dad. Why I thought about him? I was watching the movie What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and there was Arnie. Arnie was a mentally stable boy, and he always embarrassed his brother because he'll just run around everywhere, go on top of the water tower, and he was just, uncontrollable. So I was like, gee, who's that family member who used to embarrass me while I was growing up? And I thought about my dad, who used to do this thing that just used to annoy me. I don't know why he did it. So when he picked me up from school, he didn't pick me up every day. He'll pick me up once in a while. Maybe if I had afternoon activities that ended up late, then I don't have to catch public transport. But every time when he got to the school, he'll park his car, and he didn't have a set time of when he'll come. He'll just rock up. And when I was not where I was supposed to be, he'll get out of his car, walk around the school, calling out my name, Karabo! Karabo! And he'll just walk around. And then there'll be some kids who are just silly, and they will join him, and they will also be shouting my name around the school as if they're looking for a missing person, and it will be the search party, and it will just drive me nuts. I remember the other time he walked all the way into the hall, and we were rehearsing for a play, and I was on stage doing my lines, and there he was on the corridor. I could just hear him from there, and I was like, oh no. And another one, it was socials. I don't know if you remember, we used to have discos and socials. And we'll be there still partying, having fun, and my dad will come shouting out my name, Karabo, Karabo, and like everybody's gathering there, and geez, you can just imagine. So everybody knew Karabo's dad at school.
Yes, and did you ever have a chance to say, hey, can we do this differently? I mean, the power relations would not have lent themselves to that.
I don't think he got it because it was just not me. Even my sisters went through the same thing.
Yes.
When he went to go pick them up, he just didn't care. I promised myself I'll never do this to my kid. The most decent thing is just to ask one kid that you kind of think is in your kid's class and say, where's Kabomu? And then maybe they'll help you find him quietly. And John, you can't imagine how embarrassing it was.
I can. Your description is a very vivid one, especially all the other kids joining in as if it was a game. Oh my goodness. Magnification of the awkwardness and the volume. Anthony Teixeira, family members who've put you through it?
I've never had that. Honestly, though, I can see you doing that to your son, 100%. I can see you just like, it's my turn now.
I think I should do that.
No.
The one thing I can think of is my grandmother. only spoke Portuguese, did not
Yes.
understand a lick of English. And every time she met a friend, she'd make a point of just having a full fat conversation with them. And at no point would they have any idea of what was happening. And the more you were like, no, Avar doesn't understand Portuguese, the more she'd be like, no, he understands because he's responding to me. And you'd be
Yes.
like, no, he's just saying yes. That's
and
it.
and doing a lot of nodding.
Yeah. And that was it. And she'd full on conversations.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And but clearly she was in the kind of monologue business.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
'Cause
definitely.
at no point did she, whatever the Portuguese is for, what do you think? That she clearly never said that.
No, she never took a beat. She just, soliloquies
Yes.
for days.
Okay, so we've already got two great stories, family members who made you feel awkward and embarrassed, but clearly both Anthony and Karabo are able to tell the story with a degree of levity and laughter about that. Still to come, what's up with South Africa's trip to Morocco? By the way, just on the movie What's Eating Gilbert Grape, if you've never seen it, I really recommend you watch it for a number of reasons. It's a terrific film, but that for me, I don't know if it was his first movie, but it was certainly his breakout performance. Leo DiCaprio at the age of 19 in that movie was stupendous. It really is something worth seeing. So, yeah, dig it out. Maybe on one of the online platforms. I would say go to your local DVD store, but that dates me somewhat. 10 minutes now to 5.
Let's hear from Dr. Armand, owner of Monument Dental, why it pays to switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance.
It was one call and I was covered immediately. We are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years, Sweetall. Sweetall has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our Boksburg showroom, shop A1 Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg, or go to sweetall.com today. Sweetall, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
Morero is currently the mayor. He's going to deliver the State of the City address.
I'm not really sure exactly what is it that he's going to really be presenting when he's actually in contempt of his regional responsibility.
Eskom has issued a notice of intention to reduce, interrupt and or terminate the supply of electricity. How worried are you about that?
More than worried. For me, the mess we are seeing right now is not a surprise to me because Dada Morero decided to put people around himself that he can really control.
The Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
There was a story that came across my view earlier today, and I must admit, the moment I sort of heard the story, I thought, well, that doesn't sound right. I think I was watching TV, saw pictures of the Sundowns travelling party going, of course, for that second leg CAF Champions League semi-final, final, I beg your pardon, against AS FAR in Rabat in Morocco. And the narrative was that, well, they were going to leave yesterday. They have a chartered plane, so there's not going to be delays along the way. Get there as soon as they can, get settled in, have some practice sessions, and see if you can build on that 1-0 lead. And then when I saw, hang on a bit, they did not have a permit to land, then I thought, what's going on here? And then later in the day, I happened to be online, and sure enough, a person who I'm sure knows what's going on had been posting on X. Robert Marawa, welcome. It's good to have you with us on the show. I mean, what is this all about? I see that Durka International Relations Ministry has got involved in this. What happened?
Good afternoon, John. Great to be on the show. I don't know if you can call it gamesmanship because it goes way beyond that.
Yes.
I think we've seen a lot of times something similar like this happening. But yes, yesterday they were meant to leave. And you got to note as well, I mean, that the team has lost an entire day of prep, a day of training. And if the team had left at 10 o'clock in the morning like it was supposed to have happened, The anticipated arrival for the team at the hotel would have been at 2200 hours or 2300 hours.
Yes.
And obviously that did not happen. Obviously, it's a disastrous start. We all know that Sundowns usually charter a flight when they go on such excursions because they've also learned in the past that luggage goes missing and then they have to try and find a way of buying a jersey, but obviously you're not going to get the right jersey, or something gets tampered with within the security forces. So they had actually cleared immigration. They were all ready to go. I mean, some of the reports were saying that they sat for 8 hours on the aeroplane because they were ready to take off. But then the clearance for the charter flight wasn't coming through. And they realized that this was not going to happen. They're not going to take off. They're not going to be allowed to land. And they had to make a decision that the players go back home and at least get some rest because they had no idea when they would leave. Then I got in touch with them again this morning and they said they are scheduled to leave now at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
But they're not going to go straight through to Rabat because there's still 50-50 chance that they're not going to get the full clearance. They've been assured, but without the paperwork, that they can go through. So what they decided to do is leave OR Tambo and head off to Gabon. And if they need to stay over in Gabon, use that as a training base or a sleeping base, so be it.
I mean, the image this creates of African football already dealing with what had transpired firstly at the Cup of Nations final between Senegal and Morocco again, and then the decision made off the pitch to award the game to Morocco, who didn't win it on the field. We can debate that another time. This can't be good for the game. I mean, I don't know what major sponsors like Total and, for example, who, as I understand it, fund this particular African club competition. I mean, surely they are going to be saying something and saying, well, you know, if there's a lot of this, we might have a rethink.
You're absolutely correct, John. You cannot have football being played in the manner that it's being played. And poor Jean-Jacques Ndala, the referee that was involved in that final between Morocco and Senegal, was the very same referee that was involved over the weekend at the Loftus Stadium when all the violence erupted, when VAR decided not to function and they had to wait 20 minutes. I mean, 20 minutes to wait for VAR and the technology to work. We've all been calling for VAR in South Africa within the PSL. But we've seen it malfunction at times, even within, the CAF Africa Cup of Nations. Now we're seeing it in full glory in a final of a CAF Champions League. It's wrong because they keep celebrating the fact that, the money, the financials. I mean, it's going to be the highest paying CAF Champions League final. This one, which is $6 million US. AS FAR, they look at it as a victory in Rabat, ends a 41-year drought since they last had African glory. Sundowns have waited 10 years to try to get their second star. So there's a lot at stake in this game. But it's just a projection of all the wrong things. Like taking away a cup from Senegal, awarding it to Morocco. That's unheard of. You can't do that 58 days after final has been played.
Except somebody did. Some people did. Now, Pitso Mosimane has, I think, responded to you, and we've got his thoughts.
Yeah, it was just to give context to what you're going to hear now. So I just wanted to show and make the listeners understand that this is not a new thing. So when Pitso was in charge at Mamelodi Sundowns, he actually, in a post-match interview, reminded people of how much they are bullied.
They do this to us in Morocco. They do this. We go anywhere. Everybody bullies us. It's about time Sundowns come up and play Champions League. They do this to us. We don't find ball boys. They come to South Africa. They want to bully us? No, even local. We know what to do. If people bully us, we give it back. No, the North Africans, they are always bullying everybody. Always. They bully referees. They bully everybody. They don't want to lose. They're going to lose tonight. We beat them fair and square. 2 legitimate goals. They must go home. When we lose in Wydad, in Casa, we don't do anything. We walk out properly. What is all this? Wydad is used to winning and pushing and bullying the referees and bullying everybody. Not in Atteridgeville.
Not in Atteridgeville. The game, however, is not going to be in Atteridgeville. I mean, Robert Durko got involved. Do you have any idea at what level? Would that have been government to government? I would assume it would have to be. And if so, any ideas of what points of nudging there would have been? Because it's still all very diplomatic at the moment.
It is. I mean, Clayson Manyela, who does such a fantastic job for Durko, he is involved. So there was confirmation from the Sundowns delegates this morning when I spoke to them that they've left it now to the ministry as well as to DIRCO to try and sort all of these logistics out. So the funny thing is, when we spoke to Panyaza Lesufi, the Gauteng Premier, just on Monday, was I wanted to get his take on this. You know, the cops were dragging their feet. They didn't want to give us a report back, but they said the incident is being looked at. So what Panyaza said...
The incident at Loftus.
Yeah. But what he said, which is quite interesting, which I'm not surprised about, is he said that the relationships at government level between Morocco and South Africa, they're not healthy relations.
Yes.
You know, so when somebody within that level of power declares that, then you can see why, you know, the Moroccans or the Egyptians or even at times the Algerians treat South Africans as second fiddle, or even other African nations like we saw with Senegal. I think there's still 18 people who have been detained from the incident that happened in Morocco, but they are Senegalese that were detained by the High Court of Appeal in Morocco. So all of these things really just center around, CAF allows these things to happen. There's no drastic action that is being taken.
Yes.
Ball boys that were doing those funny things during AFCON. So, John, it's a sad situation, but all I can tell Sundowns supporters, who themselves, John, were not allowed to get their visas and their passports, despite being shown that they do have them. So they also haven't been able to travel. But Sundowns are off to Gabon, and then they'll see how situations are. Then they'll travel further to Rabat.
Goodness me. Tonight's show, what have you got for us?
Obviously, celebrations. John, you're going to be bringing some kids for the first time. You've got an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 14-year-old. 2 support Man City, 1 supports... Arsenal, of course.
They've caught the virus early, and it's a lifelong habit, but it's a wonderful one, eventually.
No, it is. It is. Well done once again. Congratulations, all Arsenal fans.
Thanks, Robert Marawa, and don't miss Marawa Sports Worldwide. You can pick it up on 947. It's 5 o'clock on 702 Drive.
This is EWN.
The Speaker rejects a request for motion of no confidence debate in the President, and Dada Morero insists the city is in talks with Eskom over debt. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. National Assembly Speaker Togo Didiza has rejected a request from the ATM to debate a motion of no confidence in President Cyril Ramaphosa. She says the grounds on which the party is asking for the debate are already due to be considered by an impeachment inquiry. The ATM asked for the no confidence motion to be scheduled following a recent Constitutional Court judgment that directed Parliament to establish an impeachment committee. The court found a parliamentary rule that allowed Parliament to dismiss an independent panel report containing evidence against the president to have been unconstitutional. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
The ATM was the first party to bring a motion of no confidence against President Cyril Ramaphosa back in 2020. But after a legal challenge over a secret ballot, the motion eventually lapsed in 2022 when the party failed to move it. In response to a new attempt to remove Ramaphosa from office, Speaker Toka Didiza says Parliament is already seized with the grounds that the ATM has offered for debating the motion. In her letter to the party, Didiza goes on to say that the matter of the theft on the President's Pala farm will be handled by the Impeachment Committee, which Parliament is setting up in line with the Constitutional Court ruling. She says the discussion on the theft of the President's money should not be anticipated, albeit through another process. A motion of no confidence would only require a simple majority to remove the President and can be achieved on purely political grounds. In response to Didiza's decision, the ATM says it's convinced that she's actively protecting the President in the same manner as her predecessor, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Qakula. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero says the city will not challenge Eskom but will instead work with the electricity minister to resolve its ballooning debt to the power utility. Morero was responding to Eskom's demand that the city either settle its 5.2 billion rand arrears or face electricity supply interruptions, reductions or possible shutdowns at several bulk supply points. Despite ongoing engagements aimed at ensuring payments are made, Eskom says the city has repeatedly repeatedly failed to honour its agreements. Delivering his State of the City address in Johannesburg today, Morero says the city is treating Eskom's letter of intention with urgency. He adds that the challenge extends beyond Johannesburg and is affecting municipalities across the country.
Yes, City Power does have a turnaround plan which addresses this challenge. And part of the solution is to implement National Treasury and Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs guidance to reform and strengthen municipal trading entities. This reform agenda will assist the city to improve governance, financial sustainability, operational efficiency and accountability.
Civic organisation March and March has called on authorities to be strict in dealing with drug issues in the Pinetown CBD following a sporadic protest today. Protesters shut down parts of the small economic hub of the eThekwini Metro. The march also comes a day after a group of migrants held their own demonstration in the Durban CBD demanding protection from the South African government. The demonstrators have accused the March and March movement of threatening their lives. Ntantla Mabaso is in Pinetown.
The protesters targeting illegal migrants planned to raid a building alleged to be a drug den in the Pinetown area but were prevented by police. They've critiqued the officers, accusing them of defending alleged criminals in the area. March and March organizer Siyabonga Mbandlwa.
In that particular building, they have made raids, multiple raids, and they have made multiple arrests in that particular building. However, authorities of this particular council or this particular city have not taken steps to ensure that that building is not operating anymore.
Mbandlwa has delivered a memorandum of demands which includes a request for police to deal with crime in Pinetown. Police have signed the list of demands and have vowed it will reach relevant authorities. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Pinetown, west of Durban.
And in Lithuania, the country has lifted a drone alert which caused flights, road and rail travel to be suspended. The capital came to a standstill yesterday and the city ordered residents to take cover. The president and the prime minister had to be taken to emergency shelters. This event comes after Estonia accused NATO of shooting down a drone over its territory, which is suspected was a Ukrainian projectile knocked off course by Russian electronic interference. It was the latest in a series of recent drone incursions over NATO members Estonia, Latvia as well as Lithuania. Gold is trading at $4,502.19 an ounce. The rand is at 16.54 to the dollar, 22.23 to the pound, 19.24 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $109.18 a barrel.
Mainland heading towards Centurion, there's a stationary vehicle N1 southbound near Rigel Avenue still causing about a 20-minute delay all the way from Linwood Road. Edenville accident scene. This is on the N3 southbound this is before Van Buren, causing about a 30-minute delay all the way from Modderfontein Road. As a result of that accident scene, also bumper-to-bumper traffic on the R24 westbound. This is between Edenville Road and the Kilulis interchange.
And in your sport, Aston Villa have a chance to bury 30 years of heartache and lift a first major trophy since 1996 as they face off in the Europa League final against Freiburg. Mikel Arteta becomes the 13th manager to win the Premier League title, and Korea Open prize money changed once again as Live Golf funding doesn't come through.
A cloudy Thursday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 4 degrees, peaking at 19. Pretoria 7 and 20, and Vereeniging 3 and 18 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. National Assembly Speaker Thoko Didiza has rejected a request from the ATM to debate a motion of no confidence in President Cyril Ramaphosa.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
We're calling on Joburg to walk the inner city with us. In 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Babize bonke. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
on 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive, it's 8 minutes past 5. Welcome to the show. Joburg Executive Mayor Dada Morero delivering his State of the City address today. One of the major issues on the table is the huge amount of money that Joburg owes to Eskom, and the fact that Eskom is now saying, well, you know what, maybe we'll cut off supply to city power. It's a major issue. National government is going to get involved, I think. They certainly need to, and we'll be talking shortly to Electricity Minister Dr. Josienso Ramokgopa. That's coming up soon. We'll have music for you in the last part of the show. We've got a lot of you commenting on the various stories that we've been covering and the various issues we've been raising, including Karabo Chali's story about his dad arriving at his school, and Danny responds by saying, woo, lots of O's in that woo. Karabo's dad takes the cake. Please keep your voice notes coming. 072 702 1702. It's 9 minutes past 5.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
John, Karabo has just made my day. Oh my word. I've just gotten in the car from the office, and this is the first thing I hear, and I had such a lousy day at the office. But it's made my day. I can imagine a whole group of kids now. I mean, forget the dad screaming his name, but the others, the students probably walking behind the dad. Karabo, Karabo, Anonymous, you've made my day. Thank you so much.
Hi, John. Susa here from Roundabout. I'm not surprised by what's Morocco is happening to Sundowns and Morocco. Morocco will try to frustrate Sundowns to ensure that they are tired by the time it gets to the game day. That's what they will do. The first thing is the delays. Frustration when get to the hotels, frustration when getting to the practice stadium and all of that. They will do whatever it takes to ensure that their team wins. It's Moroccan.
Yeah, thank you for all of those. 10 past 5.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Earlier, difficulties in Menlyn. I'm not sure if those have cleared or got a little bit worse. Karabo Charlie with the latest.
I'm afraid a little bit worse, John. That's if you're leaving Menlyn heading towards Centurion. We still have that stationary vehicle N1 South near Rigel Avenue causing about a 20-minute delay all the way from Linwood Road. In Edenville, you can still expect about a 30-minute delay N3 South from Modderfontein Road to Van Buren due to an earlier accident. As a result of that accident scene, also bumper-to-bumper traffic coming from Kempton Park heading into Bedford View. That's the R24 westbound between Edenville Road and the Gilulis interchange. While in Boksburg, slow-moving traffic heading towards Brakpan. That's N17 eastbound between Rondebolt and Carnival City. And finally, if you're leaving four ways heading towards Soweto, driving through Roodepoort, traffic is crawling on the N1 southbound. This is from Rivonia Road all the way to 14th Avenue. It looks like there's an accident scene there in the Roodepoort area. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance Pointsmen can't help you answer your child's random school drive questions, but they can help you get them to school on time. Seeing them on your route just makes you feel better. The Outsurance Pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so everyone gets where they need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In proud partnership with 702. Show them some love online using hashtag PointsmenLove. Licensed insurer and FSP.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
Among the recipients is two-time Rugby World Cup winning coach Rassie Erasmus, musician Oscar Mdlongwa, popularly known as DJ Oskido, and infectious disease experts whose research during the COVID-19 pandemic put South Africa on the world map, Professor Tulio de Oliveira and Professor Salim Abdul Karim, while Of the awards are being given posthumously. Sports, Arts and Culture Minister Gaten McKenzie says it's important the country honors its heroes while they are still alive.
A nation that does not honor its heroes is a nation that has forgotten itself. We are not simply bestowing insignia on deserving shoulders. We are saying we recognize you.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
The 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk is calling on you to walk with the people for the people on Sunday, 26 July. Babize bonke. And this year, you can choose from 3 different inner city routes. Here's one of them. The 5-kilometer Victoria Yards route takes you from Ellis Park through the inspirational Joburg Cricket Club into Victoria Yards and past the Troyville Hotel. And then you finish off again at Ellis Park. So whether you're taking on the 5K, 8K or 15K, enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for the 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg.
Oh, Shane, do you have a sore throat? The Andalex range of lozenges offers 2 options. At the first signs of an irritated, scratchy throat, use Andalex lozenges for dual action, soothing relief. But for a painful, inflamed throat, use Andalex C lozenges for triple action, pain relief. Andalex, SA's #1 choice for a sore mouth and throat. Andalex lozenges are available at all leading pharmacies and supermarkets.
Just Andalex it.
This Nando's ad is not an ad. Think of it as your personal reminder that today is Wednesday. So like a Wednesday reminder with a beautiful professional voice and music made specifically for you. Specifically to tell you that today you can get the Wednesday double drop deal from Nando's. That's 2 chicken burgers and sharing chips for only $1.49. Wow. Now that's something worth being reminded about every Wednesday.
Thank you.
Like an alarm clock, but for your stomach. Nando's. Oh, what a place. T's and C's apply.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
5:15 on 702 Drive. Executive Mayor Dado Morero has been talking about the state of the city of Johannesburg. You will have been aware of that. Plenty of coverage of that particular address in our news bulletins. We've got another one coming up, by the way, in 15 minutes. But one of the key issues facing the city of Johannesburg is a notice issued by Eskom yesterday, and it is called, or the headline on the notice says, Eskom issues a notice of its intention to reduce, interrupt and or terminate the supply of electricity to certain bulk supply points against the city of Johannesburg and City Power as arrear debt reaches 5.2 billion rand. A severe problem on the horizon, a severe problem already facing both the city and Eskom. And one of the people, the executive mayor says, will be involved in trying to resolve all this is the electricity minister. Executive Mayor Dado Morero saying that they will be working with the minister to try and resolve the situation. Well, let's talk, in fact, to the Minister of Electricity, Dr. Josienso Ramokgopa. Welcome to 702 Drive.
Good evening, John, and good evening to the listeners of 702. Thank you very much for the invitation, John.
And thanks for joining us. I know you're busy with government business in Gaborone, but we appreciate you making time for us. One of the points that Eskom is making, and I'll read from their statement, they say it cannot be acceptable to the city's residents and all South Africans that the city of Joburg and City Power is collecting electricity revenue but failing to pay over Eskom's share. Are there any laws or regulations that govern that particular set of transactions? Is the city simply being negligent, or is it actually in conflict with its legal requirements?
Well, there are no legal provisions that direct that the monies collected from sales of electricity should be ring-fenced for purposes of either maintaining the electricity infrastructure and or for paying for bulk purchases. So there is no legal instrument that we can invoke. And then the point being made is that they've got an obligation. Once you have purchased, you are receiving bulk, in this instance, electricity, you ought to pay for that in the same manner that City Power or the municipality expect of any consumer that if John Perlman consumes electricity, you have an obligation to pay. But this is a general problem, of course, more pronounced in Johannesburg, John. I'm sure you know that municipalities collectively owe Eskom now upwards of 105 billion rands. Of course, Johannesburg is big in that
Yes.
the size of the ticket, 5 billion, because of the sheer size of consumers and the amount of consumption. What is regrettable here, though, John, is that we had a similar situation last year where the ballooning Joburg debt to Eskom. I mean, it appeared to be unabated. The inability of the municipality to service that debt and even keep up to the current account. I personally intervened to steer the negotiations and say, let's
Right.
stay away from the courts and find a way of resolving this. And we arrived at an agreement. And what the Eskom is raising now is that the city power and the city by extension has not been able to keep up to the provisions of that agreement, and it triggers this new process. And you can see, I mean, any of those options, reduce, interrupt, or deny electricity to Johannesburg, I mean, it will be catastrophic. And that's why it's important that we sit with the municipality and see the best way of resolving this. I think we are likely going to come back to that situation, ring fence this, ensure that you service the Eskom debt and keep up to your current account. It's a gross injustice. People are paying. That much we know.
Absolutely.
And the money gets to be redirected to other spending pressures. That discipline ought to be maintained, John.
Minister, I'm just wondering what you're going to say around the table that you didn't say before, because people listening will say, in a sense, you are dealing with one partner to the negotiations that appears to be delinquent, because tough talks were held. I would assume the negotiation was difficult. You were very intent on keeping it out of the courts, which brings its own problems with it. Firstly, lack of resolution, but secondly, additional expense. An agreement was reached. City of Joburg didn't hold to it. Why would they hold to it again this time round? I mean, surely there's now a trust deficit as well as a financial one.
Absolutely correct. I mean, this is, I'm ventilating it publicly. It's a matter I had suggested earlier on, the last agreement that I referred to. But I think on the city side, some degree of resistance and to this proposal. What's the point? Is that we should cease to treat each other as a debtor and creditor.
Right.
By that, I mean, Joburg is just too big to fail.
Right.
So it's in our interest, I think, as both the country and Eskom to see how best we find a solution. Again, you don't have to place Eskom in a very difficult situation. It already is. I mean, the 100 billion rand plus that I referred to. Because failure to resolve this, it means that we are unable to address the totality of the problem. So what is this intervention? We know that there's about 30% of what we call technical losses. There's issues around inability to accurate billing, completeness of billing, that is billing everyone that consumes the electricity, and then the issues of illegal connection. So instead of Eskom sitting back and say that city power, city, I attend to those issues, because we know what the root causes are, by the way,
right.
John, as I talk to you. So we should be able to advance some capacity. And we have proposed this, and we are doing it with other municipalities, by the way, through what we call the distribution agency agreement, essentially coming in and helping city power to resolve this problem. I mean, if you buy for 100 rands and you collect 70 rands, you are really in serious trouble, and that situation continues to deteriorate. So that's the intervention we are coming in to resolve this in support of the Joburg economy and the diligent payers, because the biggest casualties of this situation is the diligent payers.
Absolutely.
Remember that if you are to exercise any of those options, it's indiscriminate, because you are exercising it against the city power. But there's many people that are listening to us, but I'm paying. Why are you making me a casualty? So it's not in our interest to do that. So we have to find this solution. Like I say, the template is there. We are doing it smaller municipalities. This is the first big municipality where we have to make this partnership. We have no option but to go this route. You see the difficulty that Eskom has. Oh, sorry, John.
No. Finish the thought, and then I'll come in with another question.
Yeah, just short. The point I'm making, if you come to think of it, Eskom has got a limited runway to exercise its legal obligation. What do I mean by that? Ordinarily, when a consumer is not paying, you must switch the consumer off.
Right.
And then that consumer will be forced to pay. Imagine a situation where we exercise any of those three options: reduce, interrupt, or cut supply. We are really crippling the heartbeat of the South African economy. So in legal terms, that option exists. But it's in its rational application, it's implausible. And that's why we have to find that solution. And that's why I was saying to the colleagues at Joburg that don't hide behind the fact that you are too big to fail. I think we are partners. We have to work together and find the solution, John.
Yeah. So, Minister, I mean, what might a solution look like? Because when you reach a situation as dire as this one, and I think it's fair to say in the case of the city of Johannesburg, this is just one of a number of problems related to collection of money, ring fencing or failure to ring fence money, because this parallels some of the issues facing it in regard to its provision of water. You say we need to find a solution, but is there one? And what would it look like? Because short of national government stepping in and saying, we are going to administer all funds paid for electricity, and we are, together with Eskom, going to determine how much of the money goes to them and how much of the money is then released for the city of Joburg to deploy for other needs and purposes. Short of an outside intervention, I don't see a solution, but perhaps you do.
No, I do. I'm confident because it has worked in other municipalities, albeit small municipalities.
Spell it out for us.
What is that? So the principal problem we're sitting with here is the hemorrhaging of technical skills at the city power.
Right.
Just a basic understanding of how this system works. This very complex system works. So some of your most experienced and talented engineers have left. So what we're doing is that we bring this capacity into city power and work with city power. I just mentioned what is one of the biggest matrices we're seeing. The amount of technical losses in Johannesburg is 30%, when in fact the average in the country on the electricity side, on water is big, like in other municipalities.
49,
but
yeah.
on electricity, yes, absolutely, George. It's 30%, and the national average is 10%. And we think that it should be at about less than 7%. And then we know that the amount of illegal connections is rampant. The highest density of those illegal connections are concentrated in Gauteng, Johannesburg, the three metros of Gauteng. Why is that so? Because of the proliferation of informality. You need to address that. The third issue we know is that some of your big industrial users, and yet they are charged on a tariff of residential. The fourth issue we know is that there is no completeness of billing. What do I mean by that? There are people who are legally connected, but they are not receiving a bill.
Right.
Fifthly, we know that some of the billing is incorrect. Now, if you listen to these measures, they will not give us answers in the next 2-3 months. But what you need to do is to set a path and the milestones of what needs to be achieved, and accept that it's going to take you time. But as a basic minimum, service the current account and build this capacity over time.
Right.
Ensure that working with the city and city power, that you are able to recruit back into the system. Merit is very important, experience very important. Put people with the right skills, qualification, experience in the right position. Because we can't impose that, because Johannesburg is a sphere of government. But I think that with the conversations that I've had with the mayor and the leadership of Johannesburg, I must emphasize that we have gravitated towards that point, that we have no option but to go this route. The fundamental cause of this is that we have hemorrhaged those skills. I mean, when I was there in the city of Johannesburg, being the CEO of one of the entities, we used to Johannesburg City Power, Joburg Water, and I think City Parks. They are the ones who are retaining the biggest revenue for the city. And now it is those cash cows that are finding very difficult to generate the necessary revenues. And that's why you are seeing the kind of pressures that Joburg is experiencing.
Thank you so much. Boy, there's so much more to talk about there, but plenty to consider. We appreciate Minister of Electricity, Dr. Josienso Ramokgopa, giving us his time. Well, busy with government business on a binational basis out in Gaborone in Botswana. I mean, if you have or do work in city power, maybe Joburg Water, constant refrain from the minister saying that the hemorrhaging of important and scarce skills has played a major role in the calamitous situation we find ourselves in at the moment. Maybe you have direct experience of that. If you do, please do give us a call on 011 883 0702 or 072 702 1702. 28 minutes past 5.
EWN Business.
Stephen with us now. Stephen Curtis with an update on what has been happening on the markets today. And, of course, a look ahead to the Money Show tonight, coming up between 6 and 8. Stephen.
John, good afternoon. So oil prices slightly down. That's given the JSE a little bit of room to breathe, up 0.86% at the end of the day, 114,634 points. Financials up 1.25%. Industrials down nearly half. Resources up over 2% on the day. A little bit of corporate news, of course. We got confirmation this morning, the PIC and the founders of Belwyn Properties, they're offering minority shareholders 2 billion rand to take the group private. The hotel and gambling group Southern Sun, their profits up 20% in the year. Their room occupancy up in South Africa to 65%. Interesting, John, they had a few problems at the Birchwood Conference Centre in the first half of the year with water provision and all the rest. We'll speak to the CEO there and ask what impact that had in the course of the Money Show. And then, of course, inflation figures, the biggest fuel prices increases in this century, pushing inflation up 1.1% just from March to April. So CPI for the year to 4%, and that's obviously going to be a big factor going into decisions to be made by the Reserve Bank next week. Harmony up nearly 6%. Anglo Gold up 3 1/3. Goldfields up 2.64% on the day. Data Tech up nearly 4%. Grindrod up again, up 2.23%. But Standard Bank and First Rand both up by around 2%. The Bytes Group, they were up strongly yesterday. They're headquartered in the UK, down 3.6%. A couple of the property companies down a bit. Fortress is down nearly 3%. Attack is also down. They're down 1.78%. And Maz, property in Eastern Europe, they're down 2.39%. And We Buy Cars down again, down nearly 3% on the day. Results from NVIDIA due later, or some numbers from them give us a sort of dipstick into what's happening in AI demand. The Dow Jones is up 0.65%. The Nasdaq is up over 1%, and the S&P 500 is up 0.73%. Lower oil prices probably help that, I suspect. The gold price, $4,525.49. Platinum, $1,941.40. Brent crude, $107.04. And the rand to the dollar, stronger, John, 16.41 to the euro, 19.09 to the British pound, 22.06 on the Money Show. Obviously, inflation figures, the outlook now for next week's Monetary Policy Committee meeting. One presumes an interest rate hike. We will talk also about the ruling against the Chinese railway company that got caught up in the Transnet bribery mess. Very complicated, was a tax court ruling, but clearly they now owe SARS a lot of money. And you remember all of the problems this caused. They wouldn't sell Transnet spares for the locomotives, got very messy. And we'll talk about that tonight. And then your shapeshifter is David Shapiro. Looking forward to speaking to him and just finding out a little bit more about him. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. Time to catch up with the very latest news. Mbali Dlamini, good afternoon to you.
Thanks, John. A very good afternoon. The DA in the Western Cape is urging President Cyril Ramaphosa to urgently appoint a new social development minister following the removal of CCC Dolashe. Dolashe was axed last week after months of controversy surrounding appointments in the department and allegations linked to a donation of vehicles to the ANC Women's League that allegedly ended up with her children. Sindisiwe Chikunga is currently serving in that position in an acting capacity. The DA's Wendy Kaiser-Philander says a permanent appointment is needed to ensure stability, accountability and effective leadership in a department that supports millions of vulnerable South Africans.
Acting leadership cannot replace stable, accountable leadership in such a critical department. South Africans deserve certainty, effective oversight and uninterrupted service delivery.
The President has declared a special provincial funeral Category 1 for former Northwest Premier Bushi Mape. Mape died in Johannesburg on Saturday following a period of illness. Tributes have continued to pour in for the former Premier, who has been praised for steering the Northwest through one of the most challenging periods of governance. Northwest Premier Lazarus Mokhosi has welcomed the decision by the President, his spokesperson Selota Dai.
Premier Mokhosi says Mr. Mape led an exemplary life centered on selflessness and service to the people of South Africa. He maintains that the decision by the President befits the stature, character and the sacrifices made by the late struggle veteran in pursuit of a united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic and prosperous state.
And in the UK, Prime Minister Keir Starmer has paused plans to hike a fuel duty levy. The reduced tax rate for petrol and diesel was introduced by the previous Conservative government after Russia's full-scale invasion of the Ukraine pushed prices up in 2022. It was meant to last 12 months but was repeatedly extended. Starmer says he decided to extend the freeze because of events in the Middle East. He also announced plans to cut the fuel duty rate on red diesel by over a third until the end of the year.
And I can announce today that we're giving our hauliers a 12-month road tax holiday, helping to keep prices down. And we're backing drivers by extending the freeze in fuel duty for the rest of the year. This is possible because of the decisions taken by the Chancellor, making us the fastest growing economy in the G7.
In your weather, a cloudy Thursday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Lows of between 3 and 7 degrees and highs of between 18 and 20.
Ekurhuleni roadworks in Boksburg still causing about a 30-minute delay heading towards Brakpan. That's the N17 eastbound from Rondopole Road all the way to Carnival City in Edenville heading towards Kempton Park. There's bumper-to-bumper traffic on the R24 eastbound. That's heading towards OR Tambo International Airport between Edenville Road and the R21 split.
The top story in EWN, the DA in the Western Cape is urging the President to urgently appoint a new social development minister following the removal of Sisisi Dolashe.
The Aubrey Masango Show on 702.
I cover on my show issues of advisory, whether it is legal matters, whether it is financial matters. I cover day-to-day issues as far as current affairs are concerned. I cover the politics of the day and how we as South Africans are interpreting them. My listener is a curious 702 lander. They want to know what are the backstories, the stories behind what we are hearing on the airwaves. They want to understand what drives the different issues that have us talking. What I love about the 702 family and 702 land is the fact that we have 702 landers who are responsive, who are present, who care about their communities and who want to know how they can be a part of the process of making our areas better, but also our country better. And that for me is a great privilege. I am totally indebted to the providence out there to be talking to these people on a daily basis.
The Aubrey Masango Show, weekdays from 8 to midnight.
Something big is coming. You see, if you're tired of life never giving you a real chance, just know that your chance is coming. We've decided that if life isn't gonna give us bigger and better, then we're gonna give it to ourselves. We're also tired of the ones running this whole thing. Soon there'll be a takeover, a change, a chance. Like we said, something big is coming, and your chance to change your life is finally coming home with Sizekaya. Mzansi, a new chapter begins 1st of June 2026.
Managing your workforce shouldn't be complicated. That's why businesses choose Onacy, a proudly South African cloud-based payroll and HR solution. From payroll and e-recruitment to performance management and self-service tools, we streamline the way businesses handle their people. Scalable, secure, and always online, our system evolves with your needs because your workforce deserves the best. Switch to Onacy and experience payroll and HR done right. Visit onacy.com today.
Moving to a bigger office space can be expensive. Thanks to My Way Business Insurance, I get to save up to 20% on my insurance premiums every month. Plus, I get My Business Assist, which helps me with marketing, legal, and admin services. Saving money while growing my business is a great win for me.
Switch to My Way Business Insurance and save up to 20% on your monthly premiums. Real businesses, real savings. Call us on 0860 646464 today for a quote. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. Standard rates and T's and C's apply. 702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, Tata John. I think all the residents in Johannesburg should pay Eskom directly, and then Eskom then needs to pay something to City Power to redo the infrastructure. That way, 80% of our money don't go into paying salaries, and we don't get action for those salaries. Thanks.
Hi, John and the 702 team. Just my 2 cents with regards to Joburg and the electricity issue. I think another contributing factor is the portion for the indigent households. It was reported sometime last year that there are 100,000 people that qualify for that assistance, and only a couple of thousand actually receive it. And that comes down to the city of Joburg and all municipalities, really poor admin, because those registers are not updated. And if those registers aren't updated, they can't apply to national or provincial government for the funds that cover those indigent households. So if you give this service, in effect, you're giving something for free, but you're still having to pay for it. And that's, I just think, an additional contributing factor. Johnny, Alberton, bye.
Afternoon, John. It's evident that Joburg needs national intervention. The president has been there to engage Dada Morero just before G20. The Minister of Finance has written a letter to Dada Morero. Now Dada is engaging Minister of Electricity, Ramokgopa. The signs are there that we are under a mayor that is competent or is not able to deal with the portfolio that is being given.
Yeah, a lot of comments on the City Power issue, the Eskom issue, the City of Joburg issue. Hasmuk says City power employees have also been found to be corrupt. This fact cannot be disregarded when we look at the mess. And this one from Charles, the elephant in the room is Soweto non-payment of electricity for more than 30 years. I must say, whenever that comes up and we say, well, nobody in Soweto is paying for electricity, lots of Sowetans call and say, well, there may be some people who are not paying here, but we are certainly paying. So if you want to stick your foot into that particularly fast-flowing river of dissent and debate, you're very welcome to call me as well on 072 702 1702. Still to come on the show, music. We asked you earlier, and we're getting some really wonderful suggestions, by the way, but a song that for you says, yep, this was the 80s. This is what we've picked so far. Sounds of Norway's finest, Aha. Your suggestion, please, to 072 702 1702. Time now at 19 minutes to 6, though, for us to go across to that part of the studio which we now call Amabinis. And if you are following us on Twitter, on YouTube, you will know exactly why. Starting, first of all, with the man in orange. Let's do the sport.
EWN Sport.
Anthony Teixeira wearing lucky orange or just a very warm hat?
Just a warm hat.
Okay. What's happening in football? Hot game tonight in the Europa League.
Yeah, hopefully, John, a good afternoon. A Europa League final today will see Aston Villa in a first European final for 44 years against Freiburg, who won their first ever European final. World Cup winning goalkeeper and Villa shot stopper Emi Martinez spoke on his journey in football so far.
Listen, every time I go into a final, I never think about, the outcome. I always think where I come from, leaving my family behind when I was young. When I'm in the game, whatever happens, I know how tough times I had in England, when I was young, missing my family. Even though I'm a World Cup winner and I had a few titles with the national team, I still think about that young kid who left Argentina to save his family from poverty.
Meanwhile, Villa captain John McGinn was part of the starting lineup 7 years ago in the Championship playoff final when Villa returned to the English top flight and has likewise taken a moment of reflection.
So the journey has been amazing. Each player, each staff member, each manager has played a small part in the growth of the club, and this is an important moment. It's hard to believe 7 years ago that we were competing in a final to get into the Premier League.
Kickoff in Istanbul is at 9 p.m. Meanwhile, Mikel Arteta is the 13th manager to win the Premier League title. This is after his Arsenal won the competition for the first time since Arsene Wenger's Invincibles did it in 03-04. In cricket, rain has disturbed the IPL action for the day. The Mumbai Indians in a perilous position. After 8 overs, they're only 57 for 4 against the Kolkata Knight Riders. Match currently delayed due to a wet outfield. And in golf, the Asian Tour has announced another revision to the Korean Open prize money. At the end of April, they had announced that $500,000 cash injection had been given to them from the Live Golf in order to fund that. However, a week later, Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund had announced that it would cease to bankroll the breakaway league, and that's trickled down now to the Korea Open. It means that the event will revert back to the original prize money, around $1 million. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Medellin was our focus a little bit earlier. Let's go east and check out what's happening in Boksburg, I believe, Karabo Charlie.
Yeah, roadworks causing about a 30-minute delay in the Boksburg area heading towards Brakpan. That's on the N17 eastbound from Rondebold to Carnival City. In Edenvale, heading into Kempton Park, traffic heavily backed up on the R24 eastbound. This is from Edenvale Road to the R21 merge. Looks like there's an accident scene there. There's also slow-moving traffic. This is in the Four Ways area on Winnie Mandela Drive, approaching Uranium. In Florida, traveling towards Soweto, there's an accident scene N1 South near 14th Avenue, causing heavy delays from Rivonia Road. Driving through Northcliffe, there's also some delays on Beyers Naudé between Judges and the N1. Pasonia, traffic pressure on Kliprefir Drive between the N12 and Balays due to faulty traffic lights. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Things people stress about in traffic. Number 50 was, as per my last email, too passive-aggressive. Oh, the torture. Well, with the Outsurance Pointsman on your route, at least the traffic is one less thing to stress about. The Outsurance Pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so we all get to where we need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In partnership with 702, Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
14 minutes to 6. We've got time for some music. We are looking for the definitive sound of the 80s. It doesn't have to be definitive, actually. I don't even know why I use that word. Just the song that for you says the 80s. We've been giving you little snippets of what I think is a great 80s song. Let's hear Aha. Let's hear them properly. And while you're listening and hopefully enjoying, think of your song and then send us a note, please, on 072 702 1702. We'll play as many of those as we can. Let's go to Norway. Take On Me, released in 1984. I guess if George Orwell had been given a sample all those years back, he might have been a little bit more optimistic in his book. Seriously though, great pop in my view, but you've got some other suggestions. I can see them piling up, songs that for you say, this was the 80s. Send them please to 072 702 1702, 12 minutes to 6.
Weekend Breakfast with Googs Mshungu.
702 Weekend Breakfast is about switching gears after what's usually a very busy week. We keep you informed, we keep you on trend, what's happening, what's new, what's delicious, what's fascinating, and keep you company as you rest at the end of the week. What I love most about the 702 family and 702 land is we're this interesting motley crew of people, this diverse group of people from all over the country, all over the world, and we all come together and it makes for this interesting, fascinating family. And I don't think you can find a more diverse, interested, or more engaged listenership than people who are part of the 702 family and 702 land. And so they listen to us to be their guide to the weekend because they trust Weekend Breakfast.
702 Weekend Breakfast with Googs Mshungu from 6 to 10 a.m.
That's Sia before he got naked. Sia had a bumper bash and had to reattach his fender using duct tape and a prayer. So Sia got naked. He got comprehensive car insurance in seconds and can now submit claims instantly on the Naked app. No more arts and crafts for you, Sia. Cover your car and home now at naked.insure and see how easy insurance can be when you get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
When tax issues get complex, you need more than general advice. You need specialist insight. AJM turns intricate tax challenges into clear strategic solutions. From disputes and litigation to long-term planning, our expertise protects what matters to you and your business. With teams in Cape Town, Johannesburg, and Namibia, we deliver the rigorous analysis high-stakes decisions demand. AJM. Complex tax matters simply resolved.
This is how it works, team. We turn up, we plug in, we share space, or we close the door. We stay for the month, or we stay forever. It's flexible co-working done properly. Are you in? WeWork.co.za. Made for work, built for business.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, Uncle John. Walter here. I should think the most definitive song of the 80s, it would be Madonna, Holiday. Walter from Randburg. Thank you.
Hi, John and the team there in the studio. It's Vusi, Pretoria. My song for the 80s is Joe Cocker, Up Where We Belong. That was the 80s.
Tomorrow brings in a world few hearts survive.
All I know is the way I feel. When it's real, I keep it alive. The road is long. There are mountains in our way, but we climb a stair every day. The lift is up where we belong, where the eagles cry on the mountain.
Jennifer Warnes and Joe Cocker made the 80s 1982 Up Where We Belong soundtrack, part of the soundtrack of the movie An Officer and a Gentleman. Songs that for you say, this was the 80s. Quite a few of you are actually picking Holiday by Madonna. Lindy in Kempton Park says, that was the soundtrack to my primary school days in the 1980s. What else have we got? Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Gregory picks that one out and says that must be the song of the 80s. So we've got plenty of other suggestions coming to us on 072 702 1702.
Hi, John. I'm just singing and dancing in my kitchen. I am 76-year-old and I can relate. Thank you so much.
Hi, John. Karen here from Morningside. Wham! Careless Whisper was one of my favorites of the 80s. I think it was quite a big hit in its years. Thank you very much. Bye.
Good afternoon, John. For me, music of the 80s, anything 80s would be Weekend Special by Brenda Fassie and Umkomboti by Yvonne Chaka Chaka. Yvonne Chaka Chaka and Brenda Fassie came into the music scene after when there was a lull, long after 1976, from 76 until early 80s. Musically, we didn't have black stars, South African stars, so to say. So that's when Brenda Fassie came in with the hit Weekend Special, and then Yvonne came later, Kabelo in Pretoria.
You don't come around to see me in the week. You don't have the chance to call me on the phone. You don't come around to see me in the week. You don't have the chance. Call me on the phone, yeah. But Friday night, yes, I know I'm not ready for ya, just a lady for you. Friday night, yes, I know I'm not ready for ya, just a lady for you.
Melvin Matthews composition production by Blondie Machene, who was one half of Blondie and Papa, as many of you would know. Dugu Dugu brings up this one, Italian pop. My song for the 80s is Around My Dreams by Silva Pozzoli. I remember that song for all sorts of reasons. A couple of my family members thought that song was the business. A few more voice notes. Let's see what we can fit in.
Hello, John. For me, the song of the 80s, it's a South African band, The Rabbit, with the song Charlie. Thank you.
Hi there, this is Helen from Pretoria. I think again with the 80s songs, I would say Forever Young, because I think I grew up in the 80s. Well, I was a teenager in the 80s. And I'm 57 now. And I still feel forever young. So I think that is an ultimate 80s song. There you go. Bye.
I think Level 42's Lessons in Love is a great song from the 80s. This is Carlos from Pretoria.
Yeah, a couple of suggestions. Quinn, Pet Shop Boys, West End Girls, Raquel, Krista Berg, Lady in Red. Nico, my 80s song is, Nico says, All Night Long by Lionel Richie. Another good one. Last voice notes.
Hi, John. My song from the 80s is from Black. It's a wonderful, wonderful world. A Wonderful World by Black. Kintabi.
Ntate John, the 80s song, Michael Jackson with Beat It or Thriller. Those are my 80s songs.
Michael Jackson closing out our very brief, all too brief look at the 80s and the music of that decade, and bringing to an end today's episode of 702 Drive. Thanks so much for being with us. We've loved having you along for the ride. From me, John Perlman, good night.
And now, The Money Show.
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by Absa Business Banking, featuring the Agri Trends 2026 Autumn Edition. In agriculture, smart moves need smart insights. We get it. Good evening. On your Money Show tonight, Stats SA confirms